Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. I'm Steve. Today we have Aquaponics Dumme and as well as Tom Alexander from Sensemilia Magazine. Super awesome episode, and very thrilled to have him on today. He's played a had a huge impact on the cannabis industry as a whole, and I'm super excited to have him on. He's one of the people I've been really excited to have on, and I'm happy to have him here. So thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Before we get started, let me quick plug Ouroboros Farms. Ouroboros Farms on what is it, September 23rd and 24th. Let me double check the dates. Yep. I'll be teaching the Aquaponic Cannabis class over at Ouroboros Farms. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. The class is also available online if you aren't able to attend. So thanks for joining us, everyone. If you guys have any questions and you're following on live, be sure to ask them in chat, and we'll be sure to get them over to Tom. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Tom.
You're welcome.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about you're responsible for both Sensemilia Magazine as well as the Growing Edge, and I'm sure that you have a bunch of books which I didn't have the time to list off. But why don't you go ahead and tell us how did you get started? Forming Sensemilia Magazine, and do you want to talk a little bit about the inception in the early days?
Yeah, I first started growing on Cape Cod back in 1975, and I just had some Mexican ditchweed, and me and a friend just put seeds in the ground. We didn't know they were male and female, and we sort of were excited when the males exploded with pollen. We thought we hit the jackpot, and a few headaches later, we realized that it wasn't what we were shooting for. But then about a month and a half later, we got some seeded females, and that did the job. I then moved to Oregon in 1976 and immediately met commercial growers up in the hills of Oregon, and got hired as a manager for this farm in outside Roseburg, Oregon, that was these Hawaiian growers that bought a bunch of farms in Oregon and were growing Oregon cannabis, which back then was getting 800 to 1,000 a pound, and they were exporting it to Hawaii, where they were getting 3,200 a pound. And the authorities weren't looking for cannabis coming into Hawaii; they were looking for it going out. So then, the next year, I struck out on my own and planted over 3,000 plants seeded from seed, and ended up with 1,230 females, all really good stock. We had indica back then, and these hybrids of indica sativas, and even some ruderalis. And the authorities then swooped in just about a week before start harvesting at the end of September of 1979, and got arrested, and charges were dropped. And since they didn't need the evidence anymore, 3 sheriff deputies stole the evidence, and the state police arrested them. And it was like a Laurel and Hardy show here. And before my charges were dropped, I was facing 20 years and $100,000 fine. These guys pleaded no contest, and the district attorney pled with the judge to give him leniency of 3 years probation. Well, that pissed me off to no end, and so I wanted to write a book about the whole experience, but all my grower friends said, no, do an ongoing journal. And so, not knowing anything about publishing, I created this funky first issue in April 1st, 1980, the April Fool's edition. And again, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I drove down to Humboldt and Mendocino and literally sold it on street corners. And it was like $1 an issue or something. It was really 16 pages, but to my surprise, it sold out within a couple days. So I knew I had something on my hands. So I went back and did a second issue, and the same thing happened. I even went further. I went down to Santa Cruz and so San Francisco, and so it started really catching on. And then I got a national distributor who distributed it all around the country. And then growers started writing articles, and it literally got a life of its own. And at the same time, I was seeing all these outdoor grower supply stores in Humboldt, Mendocino. And then I also went up to Seattle and saw indoor stores. There were only a couple in Seattle at the time. And so I opened the first hybrid store in Corvallis, Oregon in 1980. And we were getting, big trucks coming up from Humboldt buying like 50 to 100 lights. And we were Hydro Farm's biggest distributor at the time. And so that was a flourishing business on this, in and of itself. And so I did that until 1989, when the garden store was part of Operation Green Merchant, where the DEA targeted garden stores, 62 garden stores across the country, and did civil forfeiture on the stores, arresting the merchandise and not arresting people. A few people got arrested that owned the stores. So they were basically had growing operations, and so they got popped for growing, but the majority of us weren't involved in growing. We were legitimate businesses, and got wiped out. Well, that subsequently, all my advertisers were part of the Operation Green Merchant and were put out of business, most of them. But a year before that all happened, I saw the handwriting on the wall, and so I started Growing Edge, which had high-tech information without mentioning cannabis. And when Sense Tips got driven out of business because of the Operation Green Merchant, everybody rolled over to Growing Edge. Advertisers and grow shops that were left felt more comfortable advertising in Growing Edge, and that actually was even more successful than Sense Tips. At its peak, Sense Tips had about 21,000 circulation, and Growing Edge at its peak had around 45,000 circulation. And so I did Growing Edge until 2009, when Max Yield basically killed us, and I just retired and stopped publishing after almost 30 years.
Awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, the DEA raid, and how I know that you guys are one of the First Amendment cases, and you guys did a lot to help protect the future of the cannabis education sector. So do you want to talk a little bit more on that?
Sure. The way they had different ways that they got judges to do the civil forfeiture. In my case, it was I had 2 Vietnam vets as my manager and one of my workers, and they came in, cased the place out for over a month, and I got all this information because I got all the paperwork from my lawyer. Got paperwork when we were considering fighting to get the stuff back. And so they came in, cased the place out, and found out that my employees were Vietnam vets. And so they came in after a month of casing the place out and posed as Vietnam vets. And, our store policy, because in 1984, they made the drug paraphernalia law, where they wrote in HID lights, hydroponics, all this stuff that grew, and they considered that drug paraphernalia, as long as the intent to use it was to grow cannabis, and the people selling it knew it was going to grow cannabis. Well, these guys, the DEA guys, come in posing as Vietnam vets themselves and telling my employees that they wanted to buy some lights and hydro equipment to grow cannabis because they had PTSD. And my employees said, well, we can't sell you the lights and hydro to do that. And instead of showing them the door, they got into a half-an-hour conversation about Vietnam and this and that. And after a half an hour, the DEA guy goes, well, we changed our mind. We want to grow tomatoes. And so my employees sold them the lights, and they used that one transaction to declare the whole store drug paraphernalia and back the truck up on the day of Operation Green Merchant and took everything in the store away. And you know, it's weird when you do civil forfeiture. You got to post a bond of 10%. We would have had to put up $10,000 just for the right to fight to get our stuff back in court. Well, the town I lived in, Corvallis, was so outraged they held a benefit and raised like $15,000, and I was going to start traveling around the country speaking to raise money to fight them. Well, when they got wind of that, they told my lawyer they were going to charge me criminally with conspiracy, and they were going to charge the corporation with conspiracy, and they were going to charge my wife with conspiracy. My wife back then, she's my ex-wife now, but it was just going to cost so much money to fight them that they said, oh, or you can let us keep the inventory and we'll just consider the case closed. And I had to sign an agreement that I would never open a garden store ever again. They never came after the publishing company. I had separate corporations. They never came after the publishing company, but they basically did sense tips in by going after all my advertisers. And basically I tried doing it without advertisers for a couple issues, but it wasn't financially feasible to do it anymore. And Growing Edge by that time had really taken off. So I focused on Growing Edge and put Sensemilia Tips to bed.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a great a great explanation on that. So I didn't realize that was. I guess what I had originally read is they shut down the magazine, so I didn't realize it was a separate thing.
No, it was financial because all the advertisers would put out of business. I had no advertising. In fact, even when it was national news, it was it was coordinated all at the same time. Bookstores actually took Sense Tips out of their bookstore because they were afraid to sell it in a bookstore. And it had all kinds of First Amendment issues, but basically that was during Nancy Reagan's Just Say No period, and people were just freaked out even being seen with anything that mentioned cannabis.
So what are some of the more memorable articles or authors you had from your time doing the magazine?
Well, this writer up in Seattle, Michael Siegel, wrote See a Green article back in like 82, 83, and created the concept of growing, small plants, but many thousands of them in a space, and obviously it had to be indoors. And we had articles on. This is in the early 80s on fulvic acid and humic acid and microbes, fungi, all kinds of stuff that today is being used on a regular basis. We always had an organic outdoor slant, but we also had a lot of articles indoor. I'm personally an outdoor organic sun-grown proponent, but ironically, I, through Sensemilia Tips, really promoted and pushed going indoors. And I was on all the major TV shows back in the 80s, Donahue, Geraldo, all the Nightline, all these TV shows, and I'd always have a DEA guy next to me, and I go, now that it's moving indoors, they could be growing right next to the DEA headquarters and you wouldn't even know. And he'd get all pissed off. And they were denying up until about 86 that it was even moving indoors. And, by 86, it was so prevalent indoors that they lost the war once it moved indoors. I mean, they, bragged about how much they were getting outdoors, but indoors just proliferated on a huge scale.
Awesome. Was there any particular articles or particular authors that really stood out to you from the early days?
Well, a lot of the authors, use pen names, but Jorge Cervantes, he lived in Portland at the time, and it was about 80 miles north of me. I remember in '83, he came into my garden store and said, "I'm going to write a cannabis book." I go, "Oh, yeah, well, come back when it's done." And about 6 months later, he came in, threw the book on the counter, and I said, "Whoa, good job!" And we went out and sparked a couple doobies up, and he became one of my closest friends. And and then a lot of anonymous writers who use pen names from Humboldt and Mendocino wrote articles. And then Sensemilia Tips was I called it a lifestyle. We not only had cultivation articles that were cutting edge, but people would write about their drama in their cooperatives. Even back then, there were cooperatives where up in Humboldt, they'd buy a bunch of land and divide it up, and then they basically grew on a cooperative scale. And so, you know, my partner's banging my wife, but we got to stay together because the crops, you know. And so we'd have all kinds of articles like that where it was sort of the drama of the hills of Humboldt. And you know, the whole scene was like the Wild West. I remember this grower friend took me to a couple parties on the same day, and one party was out in Trinity County, east of Humboldt, and it was all these guys drunk and shooting guns, and they were putting beer cans up in the trees and shooting them out of the trees, and they're all fucked up. And I'm there, holy shit, you know, this is, you could get killed here. So we stayed there a while, and then they took me to another party down in northern Mendocino, where it was all these hippies sitting on couches under trees. It was such a dichotomy of two different cultures of growers. And you know, my road trips down into the Emerald Triangle and down to Santa Cruz and even down to Santa Barbara had so many experiences that I want to either do a movie or a television show on, because all these shows like Disjointed that just came out on Netflix, it's so lame, it's so stereotypical, and I want to do a show that's reality, that showed the real you know, life and times of cannabis up in the hills of those days. And even nowadays, you know, it's like third generation kids are growing in the hills, you know, on the same land that their grandparents started back in the 70s and 80s.
For sure.
Did you are you familiar with the gentlemen who were involved with the book Tie Stick or any of that circle from Santa Cruz? Because I'm friends with a bunch of those guys.
No.
Okay. I was just curious if there was any overlap there.
You know, only Dave Watson, who now lives in Amsterdam, or he goes by Sam Selznici, was his pen name. He wrote a couple articles in Sense Tips under Sam Selznici. No, Tim Blake, I know. You know, a lot of the people I lost touch with once I ended Sense Tips and did Growing Edge. Growing Edge was a more, you know, the articles were about vegetables and herbs and hydroponics and aquaponics, and I would go to International Society of Portlands, which are all the universities and colleges that do hydroponic and controlled environment research, and I would go to their conferences, usually somewhere in the world. I went to 21 countries around the world going to these conferences, and so you know, it became, the information could be used to grow anything, cannabis too, but the articles were mostly about veggies and herbs and things like that. But the ironic thing is that all these conferences, would be international scientists from around the world, and somehow all the cannabis consumers, these prestigious university professors and researchers, we'd all get together and find some cannabis, whether it's in Israel or South Africa or, you know, some country around the world, and and all kinds of stories on there. Peru, oh my God.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't had the cannabis I had when I was in Peru was definitely lackluster.
Yeah, but when you got nothing.
Better than nothing. That's right. Did you ever spend any time in Redway or Garberville area?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the very first issue. I went down to Redway, Garberville, and sold it on street corners in 1980, in April of 1980. And then back the first few issues were quarterly. So every 3 months I would go down and, got involved with the people that were fighting camp. And actually, even one of my last articles in 1989, I went and I had a press pass that I just made up, and I got in with all the straight news journalists and got into this place near Shelter Cove, that between Redway and Shelter Cove, where they had the National Guard, and I got in there with the straight journalists. They honored Sensemilia Tip's press pass, and it felt like Vietnam. It was like a staging area for all their bringing in the bundles on the helicopters of cut down cannabis. That was one of the last articles done in Sensemilia Tips.
It's really cool. My the mom side of my family is from and still lives down there in the Redway, Garberville area. And so I spent a lot of summers down there, and my early experiences, were closer to what you talked about. I thought it was interesting to see, like you talked about the really two different groups that inhabit that area, where you have like sort of the leftover, really hardworking kind of, lumber, timber fallers, and that whole industry that collapsed, that started growing and created such a, there's two such extremes that cohabitate in that area, that it creates some really, really interesting people and friendships and all kinds of stuff, but a lot of crazy stuff too.
Right.
But I think that's part of what makes it so interesting is, you could drive, 2 miles and just feel like you're in a completely different world. It's very, very interesting in that manner.
Yeah.
So I read when the DEA and all that stuff happened, that they went after your advertisers and tried to get your list of subscribers. Do you want to talk a little bit on that, or is that not true?
Yeah. When it all went down, the East Coast stores called me. I, got into my store at about 7:45 in the morning, and all the East Coast stores and Midwest stores were calling me because there were 62 stores around the country that all got raided at the same time. And I went in through the back door where no DEA guys were sitting. After my friends from the East Coast called, I looked out and they were all sitting in 2 cars. And so I cleaned up things the best I could, in the toilet and stuff, because I knew what was coming down. And after about 2 hours of waiting, I called my lawyer, and he was there when it all went down. And no, I forgot the question. What was your question?
They came after your advertisers, as well as the subscribers and stuff.
With my lawyer there, he made clear that it was 2 separate corporations, and that that any data or records or even computers up in my office were the publishing company corporation's property. And so they only took basically the merchandise from the garden store. It was a 5,000 square foot garden store with on Main Street in Corvallis, and we had 2 huge grow rooms in the front windows growing tomatoes, cucumbers, basil, all kinds of stuff. I had an influence on the indoor garden store scene, because up until then, the stores up in Seattle and Portland, they had nothing grown in the stores. They hardly had any display merchandise. They just had shit laying around on the floor with a pit bull come greeting you as you went through the front door, sniffing your crotch. What a great way to go into a store as a pit bull sniffing your crotch. Anyway, I created it like a stereo store. We had grow rooms of various sizes, closet size, bedroom size, and we had a big, huge one. And we showed people what could be done. And actually, dentists and doctors' offices had small, we gave them equipment to do little display gardens in their waiting rooms. And they were some of the most pissed off people when the raids all went down, because they weren't growing cannabis, they were just growing flowers and veggies. And so it really pissed off a lot of people when it all went down. And no publishing records were taken. It was all garden store equipment. Mainly they wanted to put the garden stores out of business. And it was like whack-a-mole, because for every garden store they put out of business, there were 2 or 3 that opened up to take their place. You know, it's ironic that Operation Green Merchant actually created probably 3 or 4 times the number of stores than it closed.
Why do you think that that was the case? Just the publicity, or
they didn't have the money to keep doing raids like that. I mean, it cost them a lot of money to do the raid, and they got nothing out of the equipment. They either destroyed the equipment or put it on auction. And funny thing about auction up in Oregon, growers were going to auctions, both state police auctions, and buying the equipment at dirt cheap prices, you know. And so the Oregon State Police stopped doing auctions and just started giving the equipment to schools, and the schools then created little indoor gardens for the students. And so, you know, many growers bought equipment at cheap prices at auctions.
From the cops?
Yeah.
That's too funny. Awesome. So, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Growing Edge? That seems to be, you know, you switched over to that once the hammer came down with.
Yeah, I did that for 20 years, and it covered the latest aquaponics, hydroponics, controlled environment. We went down to the University of Arizona. They have a 5-acre controlled environment center that has the latest state-of-the-art, and then all these once a year conferences with the International Society of Horticulture Science, their controlled environment sub association, that once a year they would have a conference somewhere in the world. And so then I would cover the conference and stay an extra 3 weeks and go to farms that were grown with aquaponics or hydroponics, and do stories on the farms and get the grower to give information of how they grow their crops. And like I said, it was mainly veggies and herbs and flowers, and no mention of cannabis because of Operation Green Merchant. But the information was the latest scientific and technical information on how to grow hydro or aquaponics or latest greenhouse information. And so that I did for 20 years. And then I did 3 books, The Best of Growing Edge, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. And then I also did a book called Hydroponic Retailing, which was a magazine I did for about 5 years that covered how to be a hydroponic retailer. And so I did a book called The Best of Hydroponic Retailing too. But all of them are out of print.
So what was the first, so you were around kind of around the inception of larger scale aquaponics. When was the first time you saw an aquaponics system?
I think it was like the 84, 85. There was an outfit up in Portland. There was an outfit in Coos Bay, Oregon, and then a couple down in California, and then there was one outside Denver also. I forget the names of them, but so we did stories on them, interviewing the growers and what they were doing. And then I did stories in late 80s, early 90s on Australia, New Zealand, where huge, large-scale aquaponics operations, where most of them grew lettuce, leafy crops.
Awesome.
And,
So,
I did a lot. Can you hear me now?
yes. Sorry about that.
Good. I love it because I had Growing Edge. My audio wasn't working, and I was a big fan of Growing Edge back in the day. And I'm a commercial hydroponic vegetable grower.
Cool.
In South Carolina. I'm a certified South Carolina grower, registered with the USDA. Still doing it.
All
And
right.
I did it because I got into hydroponics with cannabis first, and saw a way to build, because I'm old and decrepit. So I found a way to make a living off of knowing how to grow stuff hydroponically. So
Cool.
thank you. I'm sorry I was late. I got a life going on over here. We're just still picking up from the hurricane the other day, and I apologize for interrupting. But I'm here now, and you can hear me, so I'm ready for the rest of the show.
Hey, we're glad you're here, man. Glad everything worked out for you.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet there, and I don't want to. We can talk about the hurricane later. I want to get back to our guest here, and I'm enjoying the hell out of the show so far. And somehow my laptop was magically fixed by the old lady walking across the yard and back with it, because we live in two separate places, you know. So I'm alive. I'm alive. Here, let me get so everybody can see their head and everything.
Oh yeah, I get you a little reflector up there.
There you go. Now everybody can see themselves when they're talking. All right. So who is I missed the introduction of our guest, so just so I can talk to our guest, I have his name and who is our guest?
Sure. So our guest today is Tom Alexander of Sensemilia Tips and the Growing Edge.
Okay. So I kind of got that already, but okay. Thank you very much. And
So
on with the show.
You've done a bunch of writing as far as books and stuff like that.
Hold on. Let me get my Clemson hat. We're ready.
You've done a bunch of writing as far as publications and even some books. Do you want to touch on that and some of the stuff that you put out? And what were the areas that you were looking to try to cover with your what did you feel that wasn't being covered properly that is that you tried to cover in your books?
The books were basically best ofs, where we took the best articles from. We did it every 5 years, and there's the best of Sensemilia Tips, and then 3 volumes of best of Growing Edge, and we just would put them in like chapters, like 3 or 4 articles on hydroponics, 2 or 3 articles on aquaponics, 3 or 4 articles on greenhouses, and so we just would put the best articles that we felt and put it in book form. I wrote for various magazines. I forget the names, but they're not published anymore. But and I just mainly, because it had a life of its own, the majority of articles were written by other people. Every issue of Growing Edge, I paid writers over $10,000 for the information, which nowadays is unheard of because writers don't get paid very much, and in a lot of cases they don't get paid anything. And it's the same thing with the conferences. I speak at conferences, but I don't do any conferences unless they pay my expenses at the very least. And most of the conferences, unless it's a big name, they don't pay anything, not even expenses. They usually throw in a free booth or something. And it's the way of life nowadays, both in publishing and in conferences. They don't pay people what they're worth, so it's not worth my while to do a conference unless they pay me at least my expenses.
Okay. So I guess what are some of the areas that you feel are not being? So you did a lot of writing and put in a magazine. What are what are some of the areas that you feel aren't being properly covered in the media that's available today?
Well, there's so much information out there now. I mean, there's probably, I get probably a dozen to 15 magazines on cannabis that are all professional, and there's so much free information on the web, you know, videos and shows like this. And so I think you gotta know where to go to get the information and take the time to find it, either Google or other search engine. But there's so much information out there that I think it's covered really well. You know, I started Sensemilia Tips on nothing. Now to do a professional magazine, you need at least $1 million and usually $2 to $3 million to launch a print magazine. So I did it, you know, I was in either the wrong place at the right time or the right place at the wrong time. I don't know how I got my start, and it just, like I said earlier, it took on a life of its own, and I was really fortunate, and in some ways that it was so successful, and unfortunate in other ways since they took me out.
You got too successful and noticed, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I did all the major TV shows, Donahue, Geraldo, and I was up against, you know, DEA. They always put, you know, multiple prohibitionists up against one or two of us, and it usually was a lynch mob. And but I would get some zingers in and you know, put them in their place. So they got pissed off at me for sure.
Yeah, they don't like that.
I was a little bit intrigued to hear you talk about even back in the 70s or 80s about the using it for PTSD, even back in Vietnam. I think that's the first I've ever heard of people using it medicinally or even referring to it in that kind of context. That back then, it sounds like a little bit of an odd concept now. But do you want to talk maybe about the inception of more the medical end?
In Oregon, there was probably in the mid 80s, there started to be these advocates for medical, and a lot of the Vietnam vets were using it for PTSD, and a lot of the growers were getting hip to that it had medical value. And so Oregon, back in the 80s, they were advocates to try and get it on the ballot, and you know, Jack Harrar came through and sort of took over the politics of Oregon cannabis politics, and he was a proponent of it. And so it took off in the 80s, and it took about 10 years, you know, until it got medically legal in Oregon. But there was a large group of people advocating its medical use in Oregon. Oregon's a cool place. I like living in California because the growing season's better, but Oregon is really progressive and ahead of the curve on a lot of areas.
Unless you live at Marty's house.
I'm sorry?
I live in
Unless you live at Marty's house.
Not quite as progressive as Northern Oregon. So the county shut my grow down last year, and I've complained about it just a bit on the podcast. So they're giving me shit
Every week, but you know, just a little.
Well, we feel bad for Marty because it's, you know, really shouldn't, nobody should be stifled or not allowed to grow. And he's at least licensed to grow, and he has people he caregives for, and he can't grow because his neighbor doesn't want to see his pot plants in the backyard. And that's it. That's it.
Wait till we get to what we're currently doing this week. Wait till you hear some of the bullshit regulations that are coming down in some of these townships for dispensaries for California for next year. I'm so happy to go off on that later.
Well, yeah, but
we got some good stories. Hog's got some good stories for the new show too.
You know, I think we should probably do like a whole show. Like we should wait for the regulations to like finish coming out. We can do like an "I told you so" video. You know, we can just
Yeah,
like all the stuff we said. Like
the thing that's going to happen is, you know, it's like 82% of the land mass of California have bans, but certain areas, San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Sacramento, Santa Rosa, are going to become hubs of cannabis activity. And when these cities and counties see how much money these cities and counties that are embracing it, I mean, Oakland's going to have an area that's going to be strictly cannabis. They want tourism. I mean, that's happening in Denver and Portland. They want bed and breakfast or bud and breakfast. They want restaurants. There's going to be social clubs. I mean, and the tourism is going to be huge. So it's going to take a while. I mean, the same thing happened with alcohol. In some parts of the country, there's blue laws still where they can't even sell alcohol. And so, you know, the same thing's going to happen with cannabis. We just have to be patient. The floodgates are open. It's going to take a couple years for them to realize, well, we're pretty fucked up. And change that. They're going to change their ways, but it's going to be the vast majority of California is still going to have bans for a couple more years, 3 years.
I'm glad you brought up the blue laws, because here in the South we got that exact problem, and I was discussing this with somebody the other day, how they were griping about similar to Marty's situation. You know, it's a little different where he lives and somewhere else in Oregon, and it's going to be but I'll digress. Steve wanted to say something, but I just wanted to get that in. That I'm glad you brought that up, because it is. I believe the same thing. There are going to be counties. There are always going to be, no matter how much we rail on, there's going to be counties that make it dry.
If you look at how alcohol became legal, they used it medically. Doctors were prescribing alcohol right at the end of Prohibition, and when the majority of states legalized alcohol for medical use, the federal government gave up. Well, the same thing's going to happen as recreational takes over the country. I mean, next year they're saying 4 or 5 states legislatures may legalize it, and then in the election there may be a couple more. So when like 10 or 12 states have recreational and over 30 states have medical, they've lost the war. I mean, if they have a pipe dream that they're going to even make a dent in it now, when at the heyday in the 80s and early 90s they were only getting 10%, they'll be lucky if they get a 0.5%. I mean, that it's so widespread and huge. It's, you know, I go to the Las Vegas conference, which I call the Vulture Capitalist Conference. You know, these venture capitalists and greed rushers go, and I've been like to the past 3 years, and each year more and more traditional growers, as I call them, go. It's becoming half and half now, but these people only care about profits. They don't care about the culture. They don't care about anything else other than making lots of money. And, you know, that's going to be the big friction between the traditional growers and the new vulture capitalist growers. And it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, we fight that on the forum all the time. We're constantly getting out of, especially Massachusetts legalizing out of the blue. Our forum got flooded with I administrate the forum ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. And since Massachusetts got legal, we've had I think we doubled our membership almost from Massachusetts. And all of a sudden, every day I'm fighting people trying to take advantage of our forum and our customers by trying to sell them something, or, you know, or they're coming there asking us for advice when they don't know diddly squat, but they got a bunch of money. And my answer to them is, well, we have a subscription premium type program for that, where you can hire us, where we have a network, which, you know, everybody on this panel is part of the network. You know, if somebody needs to have advice on that, if I can't do it, I refer them to Steve, or I could refer them to Marty or BrayneGro or Dumme or whoever, and I know that they're going to be taken care of. And, you know, I just cut it at the quick like that. You're vulture capitalist. I like that. I can remember that, because it is. You're right. It's all over. They're just coming out the frickin' woodwork. They don't give a shit about anything but making money.
Well, I had 2 friends in the publishing industry that actually got money from venture capitalists, and that's why I call them vulture capitalists, because they both of my friends got edged out of the business. The way they do it is they get, even when they have minority interests, they'll bring in other investors, and so that the original owners have less than 50%. So then they create a shell company and sell the original company to the shell company for pennies on the dollar. So even if the original owners have stock in the original company, they get pennies on the dollar and they get ripped off. And anybody that goes in bed with venture capitalists or vulture capitalists are going to get screwed in the end, because they're going to just take the business from them.
Well, that's how they make money, right? I mean, that's why they're there. That's why they're not pursuing their own ideas or growing their own stuff.
But the problem is that growing businesses need cash, and so they're desperate, and they
For sure.
will get in bed with vulture capitalists.
Yeah,
It's
they
better
think it's
to
going
get
to be their big savior, and they're going to put them over the top, and they end up out.
right.
Yeah.
If you ever want to see it in action, go to the Vegas conference in November. It's the dichotomy of the Vegas conference compared to the Emerald Cup is unbelievable. You know, it's the new greed rushers versus the traditional. You know, the Emerald Cup is the traditional growers that have been in it forever.
What is some of the more interesting tech that you've seen, or interesting directions that cannabis is going, or what do you kind of see as the future of it? I think we talked a little bit earlier on the show on how you know, indoor growers are probably, at least on the commercial scale, probably have their days are numbered, just because of the reduction in cost moving to greenhouses. Do you want to, you know, what other trends aside from that, or if you want to talk on that even a little bit more, whatever you want to talk on, what other trends do you see going forward in cannabis?
Well, I subscribe to all the straight greenhouse magazines, and robotics are going to become, you know, on the ones that are on large scale. Robots can look for pests. They can sense disease. They can, you know, see when the trichomes are ripening. So robotics are going to become a big thing, and just technology in general are going to take over both indoor and outdoor. And I agree with you that the future is greenhouses and sun-grown, although with sun-grown now, russet mites and broad mites are up and down the West Coast. And I don't understand, because they only started happening the past 4 or 5 years. You know, they never were a problem outdoors. And I don't know where they came from. I mean, it's just a huge problem for outdoor growers.
Interesting. I know. So you're involved now with a CBD program I was reading about. Do you want to talk on that? It sounds like a pretty cool project you're working on.
I am part-time helping a dispensary here that has a greenhouse operation, outdoor operation, and a warehouse operation, all legal here in Sacramento. And they have several licenses for when it becomes legal recreationally January 1st, and I'm helping them with marketing and advertising, and then I consult individual growers that are new to the biz, and I'm an outdoor consultant. If people need indoor, I have subcontractors that I contract with to help people, but I'm an outdoor organic aficionado.
So, what are some of your favorite strains over the years that you've run into?
Well, Robert Connell Clark came through Corvallis back in '84 with Durban Poison, and I've always loved Durban Poison. And you know, blueberry up in Oregon was rumored to be developed at Oregon State University by a researcher there, and just I have a strain here that I call it the unknown, because a friend just gave me some, and he says, I don't know what they are, and it smells like a cross between bubblegum and cinnamon. And I'm a strong proponent of don't grow skunk. The main complaint of neighborhoods is it stinks up the neighborhood. Now, I'm sort of biased because 6 years ago I got sprayed by a skunk, and I just tell people don't grow anything that still smells like a skunk. Your neighbors are going to complain, and that's going to be the major way that they're going to crack down on outdoor, even though it's banned here in Sacramento County and in Sacramento City. You can't grow outdoors because they use zoning law violations. But the only way they're going to come is if the neighbors complain. So don't grow anything that stinks. I mean, grow sweet smelling stuff. Who is going to complain about something that smells flowery or like bubble gum or like strawberries? Or,
He's right over there.
you're not going to
My
get
neighbor.
complaint.
He's right over there because I smell like he complained about like some of the sweetest smelling plants like that I mean just like fruity berry like, and they're way out too, like way out, like there's no way like probably at least 150 feet out, so there are definitely people that will complain regardless, like
Oh yeah, regardless, definitely they're prohibitionists, and
but I 100% agree with
yeah, but people on the fence,
if people didn't grow really skunky stuff so that they had more of a reason to complain. I 100% agree with you, but people will complain anyway.
Definitely, they're the prohibitionists that think it's the devil's weed, and they will complain no matter what. But the people on the fence, which there's, I think, the vast majority,
I agree,
won't complain if you grow something that's sweet and good smelling. And my pool guy and my lawn guy all say that the numbers are increasing of their clients that are growing. And that it just makes good neighbor relations not to grow skunk. I mean, if you really need it, go buy it at a dispensary, but grow your own that smells good.
Or indoors, right? With a decent carbon filter, is not
or indoors.
It's not that hard.
Right.
Awesome. So what are some of the, you're a big fan of outdoor growing. What are some of your favorite, maybe soil amendments or other tips you have for people that are growing outdoors, or advice for people getting started growing? There's a lot of people that are coming into this, or maybe thinking about growing that would never consider growing before some of the new legalization stuff going on.
Well, I use all the bird and bat guanos and worm castings and mycorrhizal fungi, and an important one I think is biochar. I don't know, many people know about it, but you can buy it commercially, and it's basically charcoal, but it really not only aerates but adds a lot of good biomass to the soil mix. And
can I say something real quick on that with
sure.
the charcoal? When I first started growing, I used orchid mix. Instead, I started making my own mediums after that immediately, and going to hydroponics. Orchid mix has charcoal in it.
Yeah.
You can buy it right at any store, orchid for growing orchids, and it works. And you can grow great plants in it. I would amend it somewhat though.
Yeah. So just making sure that your mix has good aeration. I mean, a lot of people don't realize the roots need oxygen and air, and just cocoa core does good aeration. A lot of people buy commercial soil, and it's probably convenient, but it's good to mix some additives to supercharge it. One of the mistakes I made in the mid 70s was fish emulsion. I said, "Oh, if a little bit does it, let me add a whole bunch," and I burned up like 1,000 seedlings and had to start all over again. So it's better to use diluted nutrients than too much. That's for damn sure.
what is your opinion on silica? That's often one that we bring up on the show. And
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on silica?
yeah. I've used it as an additive. I like it, definitely. Humic acid, uh, fulvic acid. I mix a little bit of everything in my mixes, and you know, worm castings are one of the great. And then my friend Jeff Lowenfels, who's written 3 books, Teaming with Microbes, Teaming with Nutrients, and Teaming with Mycorrhizal Fungi. He lives up in Alaska half the year and the other half down in Portland, Oregon. He up in Alaska, Anchorage, where he lives, there's anywhere from a foot to 6 feet of humus, and that's what grows the giant vegetables up there. And he ships it down to the mainland, and it's used in a lot of mixes, Alaskan humus, and it's really good stuff. So that and worm castings are good additives if you can find Alaskan humus somewhere.
That's cool.
That's really cool that you were talking. I know you mentioned earlier you were talking about humic and fulvic acid back in the day, well before anyone else was really getting out in front of that. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and how that helps plants? Because a lot of people don't really understand that, and you're one of the best people we could have to talk on it.
Well, it just adds to the micro herd that's in your soil mix. You know, the microbes digest the nutrients and then excrete soluble nutrients to the plant, and so it just adds to the you know, the nutrients in and of themselves aren't viable to the plant. They have to be digested by the microbes, and so it's just good food for the microbes. You're not actually feeding the plant when you give it fertilizer. You're feeding the microbes with organics. With water soluble chemicals, it's already water soluble and available to the plants, and actually kills any microbes that's in the soil because of the high salt content of the chemical fertilizers. It just extracts water out of all the microbes and kills them. And that's one of the reasons, both in the soil and above ground, that there's pest problems, because when you wipe out the microbes in the soil, the first colonies that start to colonize are bad microbes. And so you want to keep a healthy, good microbe herd in your soil, and humic acid, fulvic acid help do that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Get Jeff, I don't know if any of you've seen Jeff's books, but they really explain the soil food web in non-scientific terms, and they're good books. Teaming with Nutrients, Teaming with Microbes, Teaming with Fungi.
Yep. Yeah, we recommend those books pretty consistently here on the podcast and in the group. And, you know, definitely, you know, a lot of really good content, and people are always looking for a book to read. You know, there's a lot of videos and stuff out there, but a lot of people are looking for, you know, references for books to read. And so those are always 3 of them that we give. And just think there also the web series that Elaine Ingram gives on the soil web is really good too. And so those are probably the 2 places that I send beginners to when they want to start, you know, understanding more of what they're doing, for sure.
Yeah, I took Elaine's 3-day intense workshop back in 1999, and turned Jeff Lowenfels onto, because he was a Miracle-Gro advocate, and turned Jeff Lowenfels onto it, and he got his start.
That's
with,
awesome.
The information that I gave him from Elaine's workshop.
Man, that's gonna feel kind of like a coup in the cab right there, man.
Yeah, we used to be the 3 amigos of cannabis. Jorge Cervantes, Jeff, and I would give talks at the Emerald Cup and various conferences, but Jorge is he moved from Sonoma and he's living in Barcelona, and probably is not going to make Emerald Cup. So Jeff and I will be the two amigos of cannabis at the Emerald Cup this year.
And for those of you that don't know, do you want to tell people a little bit about Emerald Cup? And I know you've spoken there a bunch, but do you want to tell people about that? And not everybody on here knows about that.
The Emerald Cup is at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds in Santa Rosa, about an hour north of San Francisco. It started up in Garberville about 12, 13 years ago, and it was just like 20 growers that wanted to have a little competition, and they were really scared shitless because they thought the DEA would raid them, but then nothing happened. So then the next year a few more growers joined, and then it got a little bigger, where 4 years ago they moved it to the Sonoma County Fairgrounds, which is about a 150-acre site in Santa Rosa, and it last year had almost 30,000 people, and there's all kinds of workshops. There's a vendor area that is huge. A lot of samples are given out. There's music, big national acts. Last year it was one of the Marley, I think Damian Marley. This year they haven't announced the music, but it's probably going to be bigger than ever national act. And it's just, it's a combination awards ceremony. They get over 1,000 entries in various categories. Everything is lab tested, so there's no mold, there's no pesticides, there's no chemicals on the, and it's got to be organic, and it's just a celebration of everything cannabis. And if tickets are on sale now, it's a really fun event, and stuff like that. I highly recommend. People fly in from all over the world, Australia, Europe, and it's becoming the biggest award ceremony there is.
Yeah, it's gotten like way bigger than I think, like even the people that started it probably thought it would, that's for sure. And there's so many of them now too. It's, which is great. I think it's cool. I just, it's interesting to know, like you said, having it start in Garberville. So I was relatively aware of it from in the early stages when it was just that. I don't even know where the idea started. I would have to think, knowing some of the people who are involved, it was mostly driven by ego, but it was still cool. Like it sort of like was the start of an idea that business-wise works out really well for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Without other ways to connect, especially in a legal industry in a lot of places. It's kind of cool that it grew into something so beneficial when some of it was just about who could grow the best weed. It's a little egotistical, I think, is where a lot of its roots had. But it's cool. I like the whole process of it and what it came into. And obviously, some of them are not great, and some of them are really good. That's going to be kind of a mixed bag as it grows. But I think it's cool that there are so many of them and so many really good ones. I know Steve had a good time at the Duke Grows show for Cup, which I think was really cool. And one of the local ones here was not so great, but we have so many of them now here in Southern Oregon. There's a new one at the expo. Like, I don't even, they have just events now, even though they're not cups, they'll have like expos and different things to meet. And really, I think a lot of that came and is based around cup events and their success and they had in the business world. So just kind of a cool thing to start out of Garberville, of all places.
Well, I got to go, but thank you for having me on the show. I enjoyed talking with everybody.
I really appreciate it. We appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. It's been really awesome having you on. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
And for those of you guys that are interested in learning more, definitely check out it. He runs a really awesome Facebook group called Sensemilia Magazine Facebook group, and especially if you're trying to keep up with news, it's one of the best sources on there. When I do the news show, he's one of the sources. So I want to thank him for that.
For sure, always good stuff.
Thanks so much.
Yep, thank you. Awesome. Oh yeah, so here's I was making a joke. This is one of the entries that we're going to be doing hopefully into the Emerald Cup this year. It's a powdered sublingual cannabis product, much faster.
I've seen that somewhere.
What's that?
I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, who do we know that makes that? Allegedly. Anyways, we were working on some experimental stuff where we partnered up with a company out here and got a license to operate under again. So we've been very busy and running around like rabbits with our chickens with their heads cut off. So
we're heads with our chickens cut out from under us. Yep.
So some interesting things coming up here that'll be available, and I'm super stoked. We've tweaked the formula to where we're pretty sure we can floor anyone no matter their size with not a whole lot. So it'll be great, and super stoked to bring this to share this with you guys. In fact, we're going to get some samples out to some of the guys on the panel here in the next week or two.
After the thing's ended, you got to tell them what happened to you in Palm Springs.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have some fun with that.
Yeah, when the show's over.
So let me go on a little rant for a minute on some of the shit that's been happening in California. So there's one of the places that I'm looking to do or looking to work with in California. There's a couple of different places that I got projects going on in right now. One of the places that the town wants to make dispensaries flower sale only, and only of flower grown on the property.
Lovely.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the dumbest law I have ever heard, and I wanted to scream. I was like, "What in the heck is going on?"
They keep getting dumber and dumber.
Papers.
We want tax revenue, but we're going to dramatically limit your options to generate taxes.
Wow, that's crazy.
I couldn't. There was no reasoning. They just said that's what they think should happen. It's not final yet. If anyone's following, there's probably half the state of California had a meeting in the last 2 weeks on whether, at least the ones that are going to allow cannabis, as to what their regulations are going to be. The state's going to come down here in November with their sets of laws, but all over the place. There's little township meetings and county meetings, and I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and so have a lot of the people I'm working with.
Yeah, dude, it's the same thing that happened in Oregon, man. They're going to do the same fucking thing, although your legislation is worse than what we had. So, it's like written into your legislation. At least we tried. Right. Oregon tried to protect medical, and it still probably got fucked anyway. But, it's probably not great for medical. And there's, these new recommendations come out, and I'm sure some of these are just going to be like, shit that they know, like just cannon fodder. Like they know that's going to get wiped out and not get to the floor, but they want it to seem like they're compromising. So they put in shit that is going to get cut out so that they can keep in other probably still unreasonable shit. Like it's the same bullshit that they pulled here, and they got so that they could put in cannabis as farm use in agriculturally based zoning only is what allowed counties to go ahead and control medical in the way that Measure 91 specifically says that they shouldn't be able to. So, it's, and I just see California going down like this same path of like endless county meetings and city meetings and all this regulation that you have to jump through just so that the people with the money have the advantage. Like when you can hire somebody to go do all the, research everything and put all your paperwork in and do all your stuff, or cash to buy a property, or like it just puts all of that stuff in their pocket and makes it so much easier for them, to where by the time you even start to even think about competing you're only competing amongst other rich people. So it's like resetting the curve, and it really sucks.
Yeah, no, I mean, if people knew, like, if people knew half of how difficult it is to get a cannabis business that you're an owner or partial owner on off the ground, most people would be like, "There's no way I'm going to do that." It's the amount of shit that we have to put up with the licensing and the zoning and local permits and county permits and state permits and then some of the townships have two separate ones. And then they have zoning permits that are separate from your production permits, and then pre-property inspection, environmental inspection. The list goes on and on and on and on and on, and it's insane. And then you have places like, I know we talked about on the other show, or even in this show, the Lemon Grove situation, where you have the undeclared daycare centers preventing places that are not even available from public record, and like there has to be some level of sanity to this, or it's psychotic sometimes.
Sounds like you got a bunch of people with their heads in their asses writing these bills.
Well, some of it has to do with being lied to for decades. You're being outright lied to by the government, who did their own tests and all their, in the laboratories, and proved that there was medicinal value for for marijuana, and it really caused no harm to anybody. But they lied and lied and lied. So it's going to take a long time to get people to turn around. That's part of the problem with that right there. It's just same Republicans. I can't explain that one. But as far as people go, they've just been lied to by the government. They believe their government. And that's the bottom line, I think.
Well, not only that, like, this dispensary law makes no sense. 60% of sales in California since 1996 have been edibles or concentrates. So why would you cut off 60% of your tax base as a township?
Because it allows you to control the market. Like if your friends aren't the ones selling it, then it's of no use to you. Like,
well, not only that, one of the other townships that we're trying to acquire licensing for, there is not a single zoned property on the entire township that, under current understanding of state law, that you'd be allowed to put an extraction company. So you could have everything but an extraction company in this one township, but they simply don't have a zoning. They've never zoned a property that would be appropriately zoned for extraction. What the hell are those people in that city supposed to do? Just get a second property and a second set of security and a second set of everything else just so they could do their extraction? Just because these people can't come up with a zoning solution? Like, there's so many stupid, psychotic things that this industry has to deal with that just is above and beyond. And then they still want to bend you over on taxes, and it's like, why? Like, can you give us a break? Just literally anywhere? This is stupid. I'm sorry, I just had to rant for a minute. It's been a long week.
Yeah, I just think that they don't care. Like, ultimately, what they want to do with zoning is control what zones end up being worth more money. Because we know, despite what they say all the time, you can look at it, it's fact, everywhere that you legalize cannabis, property values go through the roof. And if you use zoning to control what property value goes up the most, like, for instance, Jackson County in EFU, let's say you have a whole shit ton of EFU property that is going to become in huge demand as soon as recreational hit. They made moves to make that the only place you can grow. And now all you got to do is, let's say you got a whole bunch of EFU property, you go find yourself a nice council member. There's only 9 of them, and you go, hey, this is what we want to do. And I think they use that to control what property it is. And if you look at EFU now versus the property value now, it's skyrocketed. I mean, like, huge increases. And there's still a drastic difference. You could have the exact same property, 5 acres, house, like comparable, like everything the same, and just zoning difference. And you're talking like a 20% difference in price, guaranteed. And I just don't believe that's an accident. And I think that's what they care about. Like, they don't care what people in different zones have to do. They don't care that they, shut down my grow, or that, my investment is basically lost unless I want to grow cucumbers. You know, like, you know, they don't really care about any of that stuff because all they're really trying to do is manipulate the market. They want to get their friends into the sales market, and then they want to drive up property values in areas that their friends own a lot of property. And it's easy to do with zoning laws. And
You hit the nail on the head.
it's easy, and they just don't care. That's the long and the short of it. Like, they want to make it tough for us for numerous reasons, and they'll use prohibitionists to do it too. Like, people that don't even like have a problem with cannabis, they don't, like, they'll use people that do in order to do that. I don't think that the council people that voted to pass the smell ordinance of Jackson County, all of them really believe that there should be a smell ordinance in Jackson County. But I think that they all see the benefit of having it and have that method of control and still get tax money.
I've seen another township that I'm trying to or considering acquiring licensing. They basically, because of zoning requirements, there's 3 properties in the whole township that can actually have a grow. You know, what the fuck is that? Oh yeah, you can't tell me that one of those 3 guys didn't pay that off. That's bullshit. Like, or both, or 2 or 3 of them, you know, or all 3. You know, you can't honestly tell me that with a straight face because it's bullshit. We all know that it's true, and it's exactly what's happening. You know, you got a handful of people paying off city council members or paying off the mayor or whoever, and running train on the industry.
Yeah, we also know if Monsanto had a patent, then it would be legal tomorrow.
Well, thank fuck the pharmaceutical people can't patent the molecules on this.
Yeah,
or you'd see that happening too.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, they're trying to steal. They bought every seed company, produce seed company they could buy in the country. They literally bought out every one of them, so they could control and manipulate the seeds of our food. So it's no different if the cannabis would move forward greatly if they owned it.
So there are, like,
money don't own it.
Like, you know, I see a couple of people in chat talking about, you know, we just need to buy an island or a country somewhere, and you know, I definitely see the point in that. And there actually are some counties that are extremely cannabis friendly in Oregon. Like, don't feel like Jackson County is the standard, but once you get away from like Eugene and the Portland area, you know, pretty much that I-5 corridor is relatively good. But even in between there, you get some red counties, as it were. But there's some good resources out there to find out which counties are in cities have bans. So, you know, obviously outside of city limits is, you know, mostly going to be easier. So, you know, if you are looking into that, just know that there are some counties that have banned everything, like Klamath County over here in Oregon. Like, you can't grow anything, you can't have a dispensary, like nothing. So obviously, and you can tell by their property values, it's pretty easy. You could buy a house for a whole hell of a lot cheaper in Klamath than you can, you know, even in Central Oregon. Obviously, the Portland area is always going to be a little bit more expensive, but yeah, it's
part of the reason you can buy so cheap in Klamath is because the water quality is real poor there. Because I was going to buy a property in Klamath Falls years ago, and part of the reasons that we held up a little bit was because of the water test, the water quality test there. And then all of a sudden, I'm sorry to throw this in there, but what happened was Bend, Oregon became the new Vail, Colorado, because they wanted to run from the Euro trash in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people, the rich, international rich fuckers from all over the world bought all the land around Bend, and land that was selling for $15,000 an acre went to $55,000 an acre in about a month.
Mm-hmm.
About, I don't know, 8 years ago, maybe. You probably can tell better on that, Marty, because you're up there. But yeah, we wanted to move to Klamath. We loved it. We found a piece of property up there and loved it. And that's why we didn't move, though, because all of a sudden it was like, well, it was gone, the property we looked at first, but then we went back. You couldn't even touch it because you say it's a lot cheaper there. But even in Klamath area and county there, it's gone up a lot. If you're looking at it from an outsider, it's gone up so much because of what's happening in Bend with all the rich people. Because Bend, you could get land in Bend, Oregon, not too long ago for a pretty decent price and not pretty nice land. And now you can't. It's like you got to be a millionaire to move over there.
It's a moderate over there, I would say. Like, there's definitely some areas of Eastern Oregon. It's a little bit more hit and miss than like the Portland or I-5 corridor. But there's some areas of Eastern Oregon that I would say are cannabis friendly, but then there's also those that are totally red. So, and then also, again, you have both cities and counties to deal with. So if you're in a city, then make sure you check on that too, because that's just another level of bullshit you have to go through. So my best advice to you there is don't be in the city, because you'll just end up adding costs. Like for instance, if you have permits, they usually come with inspections. Like here in Jackson County, for instance, it's almost like $5,000 by the time you get done applying for your license, paying for all of the inspections, paying for all the permits that you need, paying to verify your water rights, and all of the other bullshit has to be done by county people. So it's just another way to extort fees and taxes and everything else out of you. And so, you're up to like $5,000 worth of stuff just to like get through the application process. So those things will drastically change depending on how many of those things you have to go through. If you add city taxes and fees and, well, not so much taxes, but mostly like fees and inspections and permits that you have to go through in order to get those permits, it's just can be another pain in the ass. But there are some really good resources for telling you, especially in Oregon. I know I've obviously gone through a lot of those myself, house hunting myself. And so, just Google it up. I can't remember there's a couple of them. I just Googled it, and even a number of different resources that showed you, even the state has a PDF that you can go through, and it has all of them listed by city and county and what's banned and everything else. But it can be annoying, but it can be done.
Hey guys, I don't mind interrupting. Can I get a mic check?
There you go.
Oh, cool, it's working. Hey, I can't stay on all night, so I got to get back to my homework here.
Sure.
But I don't want to change the flow of.
Yeah, no. Take the floor.
Too late. You already did. God damn it.
Well, we had a friend of ours, Amagabelli, sent me a grow tent. Well, actually, a complete kit to give away. A 2x4 grow tent, a carbon filter, and a inline fan. Though it's a 4-inch inline fan, but it's a great little set for the new guys. It doesn't really have much to do with aquaponics, although I guess it could be used. But I thought it would be
2x4 would be great propagation tent for somebody.
Exactly. So I thought it would be great to just give it away here on the show. So what do you guys say?
Awesome.
Guy.
We think you're the
man. So I didn't know how you guys wanted to do it. If you guys just Marty or Steve, you guys want to just.
Do you want to give an email? Do you want to give your email, and the first person to send you their name and shipping address will get it? Because that seems to be. Otherwise, people don't seem to do it fast. We've had issues in the past.
That works. Yeah. You know what I'll do is I'll post my email in the chat, the active chat here, and the first email that I received. So hopefully you guys got good internet connection. Apparently we have 17 people watching now.
Yep.
So this should be good.
All right.
But I did a review. It's on my channel. And I think there's an
email. Does that count?
What's that?
I just sent you an email. Does that count?
No panelists.
I know. I was like, I'm going to send an email to you.
No, it's actually a really good kit. I did a review on it, and I was really pleased on the quality, because a lot of these like cheaper end tents, they're the stitching doesn't, there's holes in the stitching. It's not straight, and they don't even catch the fabric, or I don't like the welding is broken. It's just you're buying what you're getting usually what you're paying for. And with this particular tent, I was pretty impressed. So yeah.
Well, what does that kit cost? What does that kit cost, Dummy?
Well, on their website, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. It's Amagabelli is how I hope it's pronounced. But this runs for about $110, so it's $109.99, and they have the same thing for the 4x4 by 80 inches tall. I think that's $119.99. But again, I mean, on my video, I guess I can try to get it before I leave here. I can try to get the code, but it's 20% off. So it's a great, it's a great little deal. If you want to save some money and interested in picking up a grow tent. But anyway, sorry guys, we're rambling here, but I'm trying to type and post or talk to you guys at the same time.
Nice to hear your voice for a change.
I know, right? Man, school's kicking my ass, man. I mean, for real.
Well, in this situation, since I want to tell you too, since you're a good friend, well, we're waiting on Dumme to get that together. I wanted to make an announcement tonight. Our good friend Will Garrigan, who's a moderator, he was the first moderator I hired after I became administrator at ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, had his legs crushed between his work truck and a van today, and he's in the hospital in bad shape. He called me up. We had a conversation. I talked to him till his family got there because he wanted somebody to talk to because they wheeled him into some corner of a room at the back of the ER and closed the curtains and never even came back to check on him. Well, meanwhile, he was waiting on X-rays and MRI and stuff. And he was all distraught. And I just wanted to give a shout out for everybody to Will Garrigan out there. Will Garrigan, he's in Tennessee and he's in the hospital. I think he thinks he's going to be okay, but he's an older fella and he's not in the best health issues anyway. And they wouldn't even they won't even give him sedatives because he's got a breathing problem with his throat because he's got something growing on his growth on his chest. They're waiting for him to gain more weight to operate. And he's laying up in the hospital at Lakeway Hospital. If anybody out there that knows him that's watching the show from the or Dumme, if you want to, he's at Lakeway Hospital in Morristown, Tennessee. Yeah, and he don't give a shit.
We should see if we can set up a GoFundMe for him. Also, since we're on that note, another good friend of the show recently had an accident recently. If you guys go to the end of the subscription, from Magic Boards in Colorado, he got into a bad accident at work, and he also we set up there's a GoFundMe that Scotty from the Dude Grows show set up to support him, and so definitely check that out. If you have a few extra bucks, throw it to him, and we'll see about getting one set up here for Roger's friend before next week.
He's a beloved moderator at I Love Growing Marijuana, and
yeah, he's a really good guy.
Cool.
Yeah, really super generous guy too. He'll give. He don't have a lot, but if anybody needed a few bucks, he'd give it to you. He's driven down here and visited me a few weeks ago, and he was doing kind of rough, but he's a woodworker. He chops down big old giant trees and carves them into big old tables that he sells, big giant slabs of table. So any of y'all out there, you can email the show. I don't think Steve will mind. You can email the show if anybody would be interested in buying some really nice giant slab tables or cabinets, or not cabinets, but tables or countertops or mantles or anything like that. That would help Will out a lot because he's got a stock. It's like talking about 2 to 3 inches thick, solid piece of wood carved out of the middle of a giant tree.
Awesome.
Pretty cool stuff.
No, we'll see how we can help him here before the next show. We'll come up with something and we'll do something for him next show.
Yeah, I'm sure he will appreciate it, but I just wanted to give him a shout out because my heart's with him tonight.
Okay.
We all love you, Will. He'll get better. Just be strong, brother. We're all here fighting with you, buddy.
So
yeah, best of luck to you, brother.
Yeah, I'll keep everybody in tune with what's going on because I don't know. We don't know. He was. I got him calmed down. I got him out of like hyperventilate and stuff because we got out of the accident part of it and started shooting shit. And I was cutting up with him, and he was pissed off because they wouldn't give him any drugs for the pain. But I think he might die if they would have knocked him out with opium or something. I think he may have died on the way because he can't breathe because he needs to have his throat stretched to even breathe, and he's got this because of his growth on his chest and kind of throat area. And I was worried, and I said, you know what, dude? Hey, that pain means you're still alive. Don't be mad at them because I think if they gave you sedatives, you might not have made it. If they haven't given you sedatives because you're past history, and I think you should be thankful that they were smart enough not to dope you out where you're breathing relaxed and you died because you couldn't breathe. So he's got it rough, and I appreciate all of y'all allowing me to talk about this, and I knew you all would be behind him anyway, and because that's what we do here.
Well, Will goes way out of his way to help anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
I wanted, since Dummy, you said you had to leave. I wanted to give you, since you're here, I wanted to give you that message. So
No, I'm gonna
you
call him
wanted-
tomorrow.
yeah, he's got his phone unless they
Cell
take it, but he's going to fight for it. So
Yeah, no, we'll see what we can do, and we'll put something together before next show. And if we get a GoFundMe or something going, or a donation thing, I'll make sure that ends up in the description for this show.
okay, and we'll talk about it in a day, tomorrow or next day, Steve. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Aquaponics Dumme, did you happen to get an email? I saw a couple people said they fired it off. Do you want to make an announcement, or?
Actually, I'm gonna check it right now. If I can find it here. Sorry, I've got like 50 windows in here. I mean, I am.
Yeah, Dummy's the only one I know that actually tries to moderate on 20 different forums around the country, not counting YouTube, Facebook.
Shout out to Dumme too. He's donated a ton of stuff to the show and done a ton of giveaways. Really appreciate him and his support of the show.
And not cheap little ditty $5 stuff either. He's always donating really cool shit. You know, like that resin kit, that resinier kit that he gave away.
Yep. Just waiting to hear the.
We have somebody on who won something. Like it'd be cool to have somebody on that won the resin kit, or the check out the grow tent once they set it up.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. Yeah.
Did you find your email there, Tommy?
Tony Baloney.
Okay.
Nice.
All
Good
right,
for you,
Tony Baloney.
Way to go.
Tony Baloney, make sure you email your shipping information to him, and he'll get that off to you.
Or Bologna. Bologna? I think it's a silent G.
Awesome.
Somebody plays Italian, right? No.
Say that again?
And all you Italians, if you thought that was racist, send all your emails to
AP Meds. Oh yeah.
I'm a bit of an Italian, so like when I'm in the store and they ask me how'd your day go, I say, hey, you can't say that to an Italian.
What is it? All the clients go to apmeds at gmail. apmeds at gmail.com.
Steve at Aquaponics.com. You guys got it all wrong.
Yeah, every time Marty's not here, we always make sure that the complaint line goes to AP Meds.
That's right. Joke's on you. I don't have an AP Meds.
So what has everyone been up to? Aquaponic Dumme, do you want to touch on what you've been up to real quick since you're on a tight timeline?
Sure. Well, recently I actually am going back to school, environmental sustainability. I'm going to try to focus on anything to do with botany, really, but that's what I'm majoring in right now. And it's taking up most of my time. I just got finished with my last harvest, and I don't know, anybody that's heard me talk on the show before knows that my last grow really sucked. I had some issues here, in the garden, so everything kind of went to hell. But I tried to recover as much as possible, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm harvesting, so that's about it. I have in the future here, or shortly, I'm hoping in the next month or so, I'm switching my whole system over to Ponics. I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll be soil / Ponics, Ponics in one system. So I've never seen that before. At least not on the scale that I'm using. I'm still using the same aero chambers, the culvert pipe. So it'll be 10-foot long, 2-foot culvert pipe. So it's pretty exciting stuff. I've never seen it before. And finishing off a lot of the construction here in the building. It's turning into winter here in northern Maine, so working on the building a lot, making sure I'm winterized basically. But other than that, that's really about it.
Sounds like a bunch.
What kind of foggers are you using? Sonic foggers or something else?
Yes, Sonic foggers. So I think it's House of Hydro. I think that's the name of the company that I've decided to use to give them name drop. That I haven't used their technology before, so it's kind of I'm going to start off with one and, you know, upgrade one system. I'm going to keep the system that I have in place. One of the rooms. Excuse me. I'm going to keep the system in place permanently that I have as a backup, and then just upgrade one room and see how it does. Because, you know, talking to the owners over there, they've never even run fog the distance that I have to run it. So I'm using an IBC tote to make the fog, and then using shit, I forgot what they're called now. They're for boats. It's a 3-inch fan, inline fan for boats, as a waterproof fan, just to move the fog. Come again?
Like an impeller?
Well, it's I forget what they call it. It's the exhaust fan for the engines of boats. But I needed something, you know, because it's fog. I needed something that can handle a lot of water. I mean, a lot of moisture anyway. But I have to move the fog, like, you know, up to 1,000 feet. So it's, you know, I'm running it everywhere.
Is it actually getting there with the same consistency, you know, from the start to the end of that 1,000?
No, that's like I said, even the owner couldn't really tell me. He says he's never run anything that far, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. You know, everything.
No, I was asking you, not the owner.
If I could interject just a quick thing, I from air handling and that kind of stuff. If you're pushing, you know, you can get air moved so much. If you're sucking, you can only move it so much. So if you set your system up where you're pushing it out to where you need it, and then somewhere along the line you have another one,
yes,
back into the fogger, you're not trying to deal with so much head pressure then.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well,
you can do the garden too.
The whole garden right now, it's close to like 650 square feet, right? And then you got like you know, I use IBC totes. I use a room for my tank room. I got a second room that I'm moving all my, or like I'm gonna call it my cloning room, I guess. I have, you know, it's not 1,000 feet of actual grow space. It's 1,000-foot garden altogether. So, and half, I mean, that's the full building. So I'm using about half of the building right now that I'm actually actively, you know, doing construction in, and the other half of the building I'm leaving for whatever I'm doing in the future. I actually might expand into just vegetables. And I'm actually pretty excited about that. So I'll be talking to you, Roger, about that coming up.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about before. I said, you live up there in Maine, they can't get any decent vegetables. They grow potatoes. And it's so far. Hell, it's once you get to Boston, it's still 13 hours to get to Dummy's house from Boston. It's freaking like a whole, like right halfway across the country, east to west, or from Florida to freaking Pennsylvania, just to go to his house once you get to Boston.
Well,
so it's up there.
How big Maine is. Maine is a huge state.
Yeah, when he says he's up at the northeasternmost point of the United States, he is not bullshitting. And that laboratory he's building is really cool. Not many people have seen that. I got to see he walked around one night and showed me with his phone, you know, and it's massive. You know, for when people think about indoor grows, well, I can't wait till he gets it finished because he's legal. He'll probably show it to everybody. It's going to be really cool for everybody to see. It's amazing that this man that's got such a messed up back and got his own problems physically can even build what he's building. And I'm impressed every time he shows me something. He's been the most impressive person I met up until some of the panelists here, which he always told me, once you meet them guys. But I mean, he's one of the most impressive people I met on the forums and in the cannabis industry in years. So I'm real happy to be a friend of him. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be on the show. For everything.
Very cool. I look forward to seeing that.
So we blame him.
Just think of room after room after room to do whatever you want.
It's all his fault.
In every room, almost. You know? Except for this fogger, evidently. So.
Well, this is all new to me. So I haven't done fogging in the past. So it'll be a new experience for me. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm still kind of worried. I mean, maybe you guys can shed some light on it as far as nutrient levels in fog. Is it going to hold it? Especially with, you know, being sonic, sonic technology. I mean, I honestly don't know. Can you guys shed some light on it?
I can't really say a whole lot. They use it for, yeah.
It will to a point. I don't know how it'll do over distance though. Like
That's
if you're
what I'm
fogging in pretty close proximity, I think you'd be all right. But over distance, the heavier the molecule, the quicker it's going to drop out. Or the ones that are heavier and that are going to drop out.
Well, we'll try it.
Also, you have to remember that when you fog it, you're micronizing it and you're increasing the chance that those compounds can be oxidized because you're increasing the surface area.
Right.
So things like iron and other things that will be affected by oxidation real quickly will definitely, I would imagine, see a degradation.
Huh.
Just thinking out loud on the chemistry on that. Do you want to comment a little bit more, maybe, Tommy? Yeah, I think you might have a little more insight into that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just missed that. I was looking at something. Sorry.
Oh, he's talking about nutrients and when using ponics, so using sonic foggers, how that would affect the nutrient levels in the water.
From what I've just done research on it. I haven't grown like that. The things I found out is some of the foggers get a little screwed up with the salt. But I was a salt farmer, and that it's a little tricky sometimes getting all the nutrients to get into the atmosphere as easily as the water gets into the atmosphere from the fog. So you're basically just trying to catch up. Some of the nutrients kind of going along with it. I really don't have that much. I looked at it. It looked a little bit more complicated than I was able to get into. So I went some other ways, when I was learning.
Well, maybe I'll have to supplement with the system that I have in place. I don't know. It'll be interesting to test it anyway. So like I said, I'm going to test it in one room and expand from there, see where it goes. The product that I'm
going to go ahead and spray the roots that are hanging in there in the fog area with different microbes and stuff.
I was thinking about that too. I have a lot of ideas that I want to try. I'm trying to get. Well, I haven't actually tried yet, but my plan is to get a hold of the Mammoth Pea guys at least for bloom. And maybe a couple other companies of products that I don't know. We'll see what happens. See what we get on the show here. But I'm really like to promote the guys that have been on the show.
So you're still using soil, right? So you'll still have. I mean, because I guess probably my primary concern would be your heavier elements and stuff, obviously. So, I mean, yeah, I guess the two of them combined, I think is kind of an unknown. I've read a little bit on Aquaponics. There's stuff out there to read at least, but like you said, the two of them combined, I don't know. I think you probably have to amend your soil pretty heavily without, dosing so much that combined with the fog, you're not overdoing it. So I don't know, man. That's gonna be fun. You're gonna have to tell us how it goes.
I know, right? Well,
you're doing the right thing.
Go ahead.
Starting one system, one room first, and nothing, and that's it. Because you might not like it, and then you didn't spend that much money.
Right. Well, even then, it's the one Aquaponic or one unit, the 12 disc mist maker. I'm using the XL that they have. It runs about $339 plus shipping. So it's pretty steep in there. And then you're talking about the plumbing. I'm going to be using a 3-inch PVC with a bilge fan pump. Is I guess what the name of the pump that I'm using. And talking to the company, our inline bilge blower, I guess by Sea Choice is what I'm looking at. Talking to the company, the only worry there is blowing the mist too fast, because from what I understand, it works best if it's really thick fog, like you were saying. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think that's the future. Oh, the other thing that's going on in the garden there is I'm upgrading. I haven't done it yet because again, school is kicking my ass. But I changed over my filters, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I attempted what another fella I actually found. I don't have his name off the top of my head, but he made a design for using sock filters out of a 55-gallon barrel, and I really like that idea. And then he made actually a couple different designs. I'm using his secondary design now for less socks with a 100-micron screen, and most of the water just travels through the screen, and any larger particles kind of hit the screen, and then the screen is at an angle, so it rolls down and goes into the socks. And I like that idea, but I think I'm going to go with his first design of I'm going to use probably 16 different sock filters, all 200 micron. And, you know, I have enough sock filters now that I can swap them out for 100, 200, or 300. But I think 200 is really the size that I want. And it takes care of a lot of the snails, too. I'm really impressed with it, how much better than a swirl filter it is.
Takes care of the snails. I love it. I was waiting for that.
Snails are such an issue.
Yeah. Is that with all of you guys? Because I know we talked about it on the show before. Is that all? Is all of you guys always have problems with snails, or is it just his location?
With snails?
Yeah. Because we talked about it on the show before.
I haven't had it
because I'm using sprinklers. I know.
That's right.
Oh, you're talking about, okay.
So he's an aeroponics. He's like an aero aquaponic. You know.
So let's talk about how to address that, actually. I don't know if we've really addressed snails on the show. So the best thing that's out there that I'm aware of, I don't know the legality of it in California, but there's a beneficial nematode that happens to live in semi-wet soil or it'll do okay in aquaponics, that actually specifically targets snails and slugs and will kill them. It's not your general beneficial nematodes, but there is a beneficial nematode out there that does do that. And it's sold for that purpose.
Didn't you mention a snail in the one we talked? We did talk about it, and you did address it a little bit. You may not remember. Might have been a dab or two, ago. But but you said something. Didn't you say there was a snail that had like would puncture the other ones or something? Or was
yeah.
Was that another
assassin snails? Yeah, assassin snails.
Murder it, shoot a snail.
They sneak up on you real slow and they shiv you.
They actually do. They have a. Go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead because I'm just addressing Tommy. But go ahead, you explain it.
Oh, so there's a assassin snail in there. They have a poison tooth, and they'll go up and they'll stab the other snail, and then you'll see them tear off because it hurts. You'll see them tear off, and then they get slower and slower and slower, and they stop, and they just start to liquefy, and then it sneaks up and drinks it, and they'll kill a couple snails a day. They don't breed very quickly at all. When they do breed, they only have maybe 5 or 10 babies at a time, so they don't overpopulate, and they're hunter seekers. And they're pretty large. They're bigger, and they don't really get caught in the sprayers as much because they're kind of too big to get in there.
Did you all say that they killed each other off after they killed all the snails you had?
Yeah, they'll pick each other off as well.
Kind of like see, I remember. I try to remember what y'all did.
My system's so bad it really wouldn't matter. They have plenty of food in there. I actually tried to order assassin snails already. I ordered off eBay. But in Maine, you have to have a license for importing that type of stuff. So it's not a very expensive license, but you do have to go through inland fisheries to get their license. So
that reminds me,
it's a snail eat snail world.
Yeah.
Hey, Dummy, guess what? You didn't miss. Did you watch last week's show?
I haven't had a chance, buddy.
I'm a fish dealer.
You are?
Yeah. What kind of fish you want, dude?
There you go. Problem solved. Bringing people together.
We talked about that before. Yeah, sorry, go on, Steve.
Other good options are loaches, anything in the loach family. Freshwater mollies are also really, really good at killing snails. Freshwater pufferfish are also really good for that. So, specifically for picking off snails.
How do they interact with the other fish, Steve, if you put them in there?
Which ones? The pufferfish?
Like the fish and all that. How do they interact with your regular fish? Is that a problem?
puffer fish can be a bit nippy against other fish, but if you put them in the sump tank or something where your equipment is, they can do just fine. The mollies and the loaches don't hurt anybody. You know, they'll live just fine as long as they're not getting eaten by other fish.
Well, the other issue, I don't think I have, since I had that big issue, I had a ton of my trout died. So trout would be the issue that I have.
I got trout.
I have, well, it has to be approved by, again, it has to be approved for imports. It has to be approved by inland fishing.
Yeah.
Well, you can go.
Well, they say they should.
If you go to your local fish and game website, and this is true for I think every state now, they actually have a list of licensed retailers in your area, like in your state, and you can figure out where it is that you can legally buy game fish or other fish, you know, legally in your state without having to worry about knowing which, you know, what's legal, what's not legal, what'll get you in trouble, blah blah blah.
I'm on the wrong computer, or I would look up your state right now as far as it. But the company that I hooked up with, they have pretty much a flat rate for shipping to every state. It's different. Like they're in the South, I believe. Well, I'll say they're in the South, so I get a pretty cheap shipping here. And the biggest shipping I saw was around $65 for a crate, and you know, whatever they do, the package. And I think it goes 250, 500, and you know, you like that's how. And actually, you buy, it's like a half box or a whole box. At one's 250, one's 500, and then you can just buy whatever box. Every box has the same flat rate shipping fee. So there's no weirdness there. You pick out your fish, and then they ship it to you for that rate.
Right.
Period. Once you. So there's no guesswork there. Well, maybe you need to get in touch with me the next couple of days, and I can see what we can do, because I know you were looking for better fish than you had to use, and we got all kind of stuff that's according to Steve. I found a place that I can get all the fish, not every fish out there, but fish that are really good for aquaponics. You know, because I can get the goldfish, I can get the koi. I was having trouble finding a distributor with goldfish, because since I'm going to start some aquaponics, actually raise koi and then, you know, use them and then resell them, but I'm not going to try that at the beginning. So Marty and Steve have always been, I got to start with goldfish. So I finally found a place with goldfish, and they got catfish and trout and a whole bunch of, they got several really good fish that I think you could use, and you might be interested in.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, Roger, but in my store I sold fish too. So I still have, maybe we can trade information there, because I actually have a couple of places as far as like especially like goldfish or like comets, you know, simple comets or fingerlings. Yeah. I mean, they're talking like 4 cents a piece, man, like really cheap. So anyway, yeah, we'll hook up and trade information on, you know, off air or whatever.
Yeah, because I forgot you had gone to where you went. You see, for those of you who don't know, Dumme used to have like a hydroponic store, and he's now converted that to a fish store. You know,
well, no, it's not. It's still kind of a hydroponic store. It's just
you're going into fish.
Public. Yeah, I had fish also, so it was a hydroponic store with fish in it.
Okay.
You're just online now, right? Or you're not?
Online. It's honestly, since my father used to live with me. He passed away last November.
Okay.
And,
yeah, he's online. He's partnered with me at ilovegrowingsupplies.com.
Yeah,
that's his online store.
Basically, since it was actually a little bit, it was when my father started getting really sick. I couldn't focus on the store anymore, and I was having problems with the town anyway that I'm in, and so now, I mean, the store's still open. It's just not open to the public. So, and honestly, I just don't have time. Especially with school, I don't have time for it anymore.
He literally gives more away than he sells.
So anyway, I gotta head off here because I actually got to finish some homework here. But I want to reaffirm about the website, if that's all right with you guys.
Bring it.
Absolutely.
amagabelly.com. There's actually, I'll supply a link, or if you don't mind supplying the link, is that all right for this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll put it in the chat here if I can find it. But you know, check them out. They don't have that much as far as grow equipment, but they are a growing company, and they're very or it seems like they're very influential. Like one of the biggest issues that I had with this particular review is when they sent the filter. It's just a small little 4-inch filter, and it fits in the tent great, but they didn't include the straps to connect it to the tent. So I thought that was, I was a little disappointed when they didn't do it. So I immediately, I sent her a text. We were talking, and she apologized, and she said, "Yep, since you bring it up, we realize what you're talking about, and from October forward, we'll start including these in every set." So to me, that shows that they're really interested in reviews and improving what they have. So I think it's a great company, and you really should check it out if you're interested in buying a new tent. So right now they only have the 2 tents available, and then the matching sets like the fans and stuff. And just so the viewers watching can know, I don't make any money off this. I'm not getting any. In fact, even the products that they sent me, I'm giving away. I'm doing this completely free. And I like to invest my time in companies I believe in, and this is one of them. So they're a great company.
Awesome.
So I'll put their link in the chat or in the text below the video here when it actually posts. And there you go. If you're interested in getting the grow tent, you can get one.
So is that something you have an affiliate account with them too?
Nope, no affiliate account. They just contacted me off the site and asked me to do a review on their product. So,
but do you think they have an affiliate account that we could set up for our store?
I think they're progressive enough to probably think about that, and that might be a good idea.
Yeah, talk to them. We'll put them on all our sites that we sell stuff.
So yeah, I think actually they might really like that idea. So they did give me a 20% off code, and again, that's I'll post that in the comments below when I post their website. Yeah, use the code. Use the code. Get that 20% off. So that's 20% off of the $109. So that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Also,
oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna say shout out to where is he here in chat? A second ago. So Cyclops from chat says his grow is destroyed by Irma, but he's looking forward to phenome hunting. So I just wanted to say shout out to him. Sorry to hear about your grow, buddy.
Sorry,
Yeah, it is a lot. I've had a lot of people on the forum bring that up too, and we're very sorry for everybody. I got lucky; we got hit pretty bad, but it wasn't as bad as coming up the Gulf side of Florida and the people just above Florida. They I've seen a lot of comments about people losing their grow or not having electricity. Maybe they didn't even lose their grow, but they have no electricity and they're freaking out. And Florida's not, they legalized something, and I don't think anybody really knows what they've actually legalized. So those guys down there are kind of freaking out with no lights, and it did, and let's give a shout out to all the Irma victims, because I lost a small greenhouse. It got wedged somehow between the old trailer we had and my Cadillac, like somebody stood above it and threw it between this hole, like about that wide, So I got this little greenhouse that's about 6 by 6, real nice job I had out there. And but that was nothing compared to those guys down in Florida and, Eastern Alabama, Southeastern Alabama and all, they really got hammered. Yeah, we got to give that's something else too. Yeah, we got so many disasters going on. How many funds can we start? But I think there's enough funds starting for people hurricanes that we don't really need to be involved in that. Although, anybody out there that wants to, there's plenty of hurricane relief things out there. From hell, if you go on Facebook, every time I log into Facebook or eBay or anywhere, there's a thing that pops up that asks you to give money to the hurricane. So if you can give $1, that'd be great. If everybody gave $1, that'd be $1 more than they had yesterday.
That's awesome math. Thank you.
I tried, Tommy. I try to keep up with you, Brainy.
I'm telling you, man,
I'm just old redneck country boy.
Yeah, sorry to hear about that. And see if you guys are affected and you have people near you that are affected and you aren't, definitely see if you can toss them some seeds or you know, any extra old grow equipment or whatever just to get these guys back online.
Yeah, they need their electric online before new grow lights and stuff would help them. But yeah, it might be nice to try to take I don't know if we got any listeners with stores or stuff like that, but you know, I think it'd be a good idea to invite anybody that wants to donate something. I'd be willing to, you know, if Steve expedites it. Damn, I'd be willing to handle the
do something like that on the forum. Maybe set up a forum. Maybe a seed equipment donation forum or something for those affected.
Yeah, maybe do something like that. That's a good idea. Maybe I could just start a little thing for temporarily.
Yeah.
You know, in the green room or something. We'll just put we'll just start a thing in the green.
We do like a growers disaster relief thing. That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be really cool. That sounds awesome.
And that way, if anybody wants to donate any kind of, whether it be a little grow light or whatever, I don't know about seeds. I don't want to accept seeds and ship seeds to people all over the place. That
well, no, but maybe we can put people in touch with each other and they can help each other out that way, and we'll just do some equipment or something.
Right. You know, I'll have to make that as part. I can publicize it on our forum, but because of my forum policy, which people get in trouble for, I won't be able to actually do some of the contact info and stuff according to my own forum policy I wrote. So what I'll do is we'll have to set up a separate email. I'll sit and I got a hosting service and shitload of domains. So I'll set up something at latewood.com. I'll just set up an email like hurricane relief at latewood.com. It's not set up yet, so give me a day or so. It only takes me a few minutes to set it up, but I'll set up something at you just put hurricane relief at latewood.com or hurricane. I don't know. Is that good, you think? Or no, should we name it something else? Donations for, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Call it hurricane at latewood.com. Make it simple. And if you want to donate something, I'll try to expedite it. And if you're on the West Coast, I'll send you to Marty or Steve or somebody, you know. But I'll handle the East Coast, and I think, well, we lost Hogmaster, but I can tell you right now, he's in the Midwest, and he'd help too. I can guarantee you.
Yep.
He's part of the team. So, yeah, we're all for helping. Just make sure you vote.
That sounds like a great plan.
Them assholes out that support Jeff Sessions. Just make sure you vote them assholes out.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, Trump wanted to fire Jeff Sessions, and it got like prevented. They like stopped it or something. I don't know if you saw that.
No, but I did see the news about how they pushed back the screwing over medical marijuana states till December 17th because Jeff Sessions wanted to pounce now, and Democrats and Trump, believe it or not, Trump went and did a secret bill with the Democrats and pissed off all the Republicans. They didn't even know it was coming, and got the prohibition on medical marijuana states squashed until December 17th. So.
You're actually. Do you want to touch on that, Tommy? You seem to know the most about that.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't heard this last thing. You know, the last thing I knew that's the ultimate, or the last two riders on the omnibus bills, where Congress basically said that it's like one step short of making it a law, but basically Congress had said in the last two omnibus bills had it with the budget. A specific rider is what it's called, that says the federal government cannot spend 5 cents attacking legal grows that are operating 100% within their state laws.
Right.
So whether you're a medical grower or you're a commercial grower, as long as you have every T crossed and every I dotted, the federal government, according to these last two riders, it's not a full law, but you know, it basically says that the feds cannot spend a nickel coming and wrecking your shit. That doesn't mean they won't do it, but at least you have that on your side. You know, you're going to lose your lights, you're going to lose your shit, but you're not going to, you know, have to buy soap on a rope or anything.
So what happened was that was expiring. See, so this would have expired and allowed Jeff Sessions to move forward, but Trump made a deal with the Democrats, and I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry at this point, I can't remember what the hell he got or wanted, but he was going to get it from either Democrats or Republicans. It's just that it worked out where the Democrats had a better deal for him. And he allowed them to help with, because the Democrats are actually pushing. This is the first time I've actually seen, not that I don't already know that it's more Democrats probably voting for medical marijuana than Republicans, but because they seem to just be ignorant to the science.
Well, not in the states where they're getting tax money.
They're starting tax money, which is what pays you guys to screw
the Republican up. You give them tax money.
Yeah, so. You understand that? So I mean, whenever how I thought Republicans were all about the money, and that even with the money, billions being out there, they still want to screw us over. So, and what pisses me off is the facts are out there.
And the Republicans too, and the Libertarians are basically Republicans that smoke pot.
Okay, but that was expiring. So anyway, that's
my rant. See that rant? That's my rant.
Our medical marijuana states are for this quarter are safe for this quarter, and then at December 17th it'll be the next time that expires, and it has to be dealt with again, to where if Jeff Sessions is still in office, we'll have to worry about Jeff Sessions again on December 17th. So,
so it'll go again. There are too many states that have too much money coming in. So kind of what it boils down to is a lot of Republicans and even a lot of Democrats, just be honest, they can't say I support it. But what they can say,
because they're in a Bible Belt state or something,
money there, I ain't gonna fuck with it. And so this is their way, without ever admitting it, that they're allowing it to continue. Wink, wink, nod, nod, because they want the money. Yet they still get to have the political standpoint of like, of course it's the devil's weed, you know.
Well, the thing is that
but eventually it'll work out.
My parents understand it. Now they still say they'd never use it no matter what, or even CBD oil, which that we'll see when the time comes. But I do know a friend. Well, Hogmaster's parents are using our CBD oil and they love it.
Nice.
And he sent them some of the coconut oil, and then they reordered the CBD oil, and that we sell, and they love it. So on that note, I gave the old lady, my estranged old lady, I gave her the wife, I gave her a couple spoonfuls of that coconut oil that was sent to me by our friend in Kansas, and I had her rub it on that foot that was killing her, and she said, didn't make it go away totally, but it sure did relax it and make her feel better. So we got to there's where we used it. I used it topically, not in. But.
Yeah, that works out. There are it's a very good way to do it, especially in that coconut oil. That saturated fat plays very well with your skin. It plays very well with mucous membrane areas, whether it's in your mouth, if it's in
Does
your
it give you a
vagina or something like that. No, it does. It's a great way to.
Since we're talking about that, Tommy, do you want to talk about your one product that helps women, or do you want to not talk about that right at the moment?
Well, everybody here's got a beard except for me, so I guess I might as well talk about a girl's woo-woo. So we jokingly call it the woo-woo juice, but it's basically what you talk about there, Roger, that CBD oil. And you're basically going to run about a 50-50 CBD oil, THC oil, with that same slow extraction process in the coconut oil. But before you get busy, okay, if you got a woman who's in kind of our age group, Steve, it doesn't matter to him, but Roger, in our age group, if our women are hanging with the same age, what winds up happening, and I know this stuff because I was married to a baby catcher, an OBGYN. And there's a hormonal change that happens in the walls of the vagina. The walls of the vagina, like when you're in there getting busy, it feels really, really good. Yeah. Okay. It feels really, really good. However, when you're squeezing a baby out, think about it. It goes from about like that to like that, and the skin can adjust. And that's a hormonal thing. Well, as women age, that ability goes away, and it actually can get to the point where if we're excited, it full on just hurts them. I mean, because of the
The
thinning of the.
elasticity goes away.
But this oil, you stick a little up in the woo-woo, and it does an incredible job with helping the gals deal with that. And so, yeah, guys, you actually get laid.
So I just wonder, does it turn green and you feel like you're on Star Trek in the 60s? You're going to turn green? You know?
No, I don't think so.
I just wonder if you rub it on your skin long enough, does your skin start to take a green, like, you know, like olive oil kind of thing, you know?
It depends.
Like, do you start to become... So that was, so I just try, I just always have to put something to lighten up the mood a little. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not the only one for Pebble on the Beach, you know? So, yeah, Dummy, have you heard about that?
Oh, what's that? I'm sorry, guys. I was busy. What did I miss?
Well, I don't know a couple or three shows, but Tommy and Dorian, they came up with an idea of you know, infusing cannabis into coconut oil, and it's a topical and an internal medicine, and you can cook with it. It takes the place of butter.
Yeah, I did not hear it's pretty common in northern Maine. I see a lot of people with that already.
Yeah, I did not come up with this, Raj. Please. No.
Okay, well, sorry, but you brought it to
cool technology.
Yeah, right. He brought it, but they actually dial that shit in and do it exactly. You know, they've got it down. Tommy's got it down to a sign. You know,
we did I'll admit we did a couple hacks, and we made it better. But I didn't invent it. I just looked at it and go, oh, if you did this and this, it would move it forward a little bit. That's all I ever do is move the stuff forward a little bit. I'm not
so is my package? Did we die?
I see Steve's lips moving, but I can't hear him.
Oh, I said I don't think he's got one for the guys yet, but I think he's working on it.
Well, actually, we're still live. Never mind.
No, we'll talk after the show.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have brought that up for the show. Because nobody has ever said it's we all want it. You know, you never want to do things or send anything illegal to anybody across state lines because it's illegal. So no one ever here ever shares anything across state lines.
No, but last time I checked, CBD was legal.
I'm a Boy Scout.
Is it legal to ship it from the United States to the United States across all state lines? Even though
I don't know what happens all the time by countless CBD companies.
Except CBD got Schedule 1.
Okay.
Is it Schedule 1? I know I went on that rant and I thought I read a thing that they was temporarily in legal limbo. And it was on hold. I think we even reported on that on one of the shows.
Yeah, but they're trying. It's the death throes when they try to make CBD. You know, like the stuff that gets kids to be able to go to kindergarten and do their ABCs without drugs. When they
how them assholes are getting away with it, Tommy?
That's just death throes.
You know how they're getting away with it, Tommy? Because they've now admitted and made it law that it's a medicine. So now they can go, yeah, it's a Schedule 1 thing. You know, so it's got medical viability, and we're going to make it. Although that is exactly against Schedule 1. So again, here we go.
And the government owns the patent on the CBD, just so you know.
On the what?
On the CBD, the government owns the patent.
How can they own a patent on it when it's being made in Europe? Too, also.
Because they patented this in the 60s or 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. See, somebody posted it earlier.
Okay. Yeah. I'll make a comment real quick. Yeah. So they did it in the 60s when they already knew that medical marijuana was viable and it should never be.
Well, it's just like gluten. There's stuff going back to the 30s and 40s saying about gluten exposure above a certain level being toxic to the digestive tract. This is shit that's been heavily documented by our own government going back a long time, but all of a sudden everyone acts like it's a new problem, and it's like, no, actually, this has been documented about 70 years ago, and no one just fucking remembers, or no one feels the need to pull up the papers. It's actually a U.S. patent. It's the U.S. patent number 6630507.
And see, it just goes back to the USDA and the FDA. you know, having that government control, and it wasn't feasible for the big companies that made food to take gluten out. So they've been feeding us these poisons, even though I'm not going to ever be gluten free because I understand that shit. I'm not, you know, I don't know. I'm going to eat till I.
Well, a large percentage of people that are actually gluten intolerant, it's nothing to do with gluten. It's the fucking glyphosate they're spraying to defoliate the plants to make it easier on the harvesters. For those of you that don't know about that, they spray glyphosate to defoliate the plants to strip the leaves off so that they go through the harvester easier and can separate the wheat easier. That's 100% fact. And okay, what do we do with smoking? We don't spray shit the last 2 weeks, at least, if not longer. Okay, so why the fuck can these assholes put something on 3 days before harvest and tell me it's okay? It's bullshit. It's not. It's fucking bullshit. And then they grind it up and they concentrate it. Okay, what do we see? What happens with pesticides when we concentrate it? It's the same shit. This is no different, but when it's for food, they can pass it by. And you know what? Thank God for the strict level of the stuff on the cannabis industry, because hopefully it'll clean up some of the shit that's going on in the food industry. Because you look at the shit with Eagle 20 and a lot of these other things that they simply didn't have this level of detailed study on these, but because the cannabis industry is, and because it's on a magnifying glass, hey, now we can crucify these other guys on doing horrible pesticides and get this shit off the market. You know, if anything, it's a blessing that the cannabis industry has these high standards and has this level of scrutiny, because it's going to improve the food for all of us. And that's almost never brought up.
And what do they tell you when we bring it up to them? So somebody puts it in their face, they say, it's within tolerable limits.
What the fuck is a tolerable limit? No, it's either good for you or it's not. Yeah. Especially when you're concentrating it. You can't tell me a concentrated version of it's just as good as the stuff. It's bullshit.
You're either pregnant or you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're not ever half pregnant.
Yeah, exactly.
Tolerably pregnant. You're pregnant or not.
Tolerable.
Yep.
Oh, Lordy. Interesting show after Tom left tonight. Yes, sir. Yeah, I had a thing go on, and I had to go off for about 5 minutes, and then I came back and Tom was gone. I want to shout out for a great show and a great interaction with Tom Alexander tonight too, since I missed him now, because he was great.
Yeah, I really appreciate him coming on the show. He actually was kind enough to send me the contact info for Jeff from the author of Teaming with Microbes and stuff. So we'll see if I can't get him on the show.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it was love Mike.
Hopefully Ed Rosenthal will be on before the end of the month. I've been in contact with them and following up. We just haven't. They're still trying to give me a specific Thursday that works good for them. But they're trying for the end of the month.
That's gonna be a good show.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. No, that's why I was super stoked to have Tom on tonight, because it's, you know, trying to get some of the OGs and some of the guys that have been around for a long time, because you don't really see them on a lot of the online stuff much anymore.
You know, the kids are running around with all the shows, and they don't know who got the story here.
Yep.
And I
definitely appreciate the respect for the old farts.
Well, that's because we are old.
All their time and treasure is why we're here, and all their police battles and all the court cases that they went through. I mean, I've had a chance to spend some time with Dennis Perrone, and I'd love to have him on, but his ability to communicate isn't quite as good as it used to be, and I don't know how well it would do for a radio show, but it was really awesome to spend time with him and talk to him, and you know, a lot of these guys just aren't going to be around a whole lot longer, you know, another 10, 20, 30 years, and we need to document this stuff while these guys are still around and willing to talk. And you know, a lot of these guys too have also retired and just kind of gotten away from the whole thing after, you know, numerous police battles. So or they've moved.
We get these world-renowned authors and stuff that come on the show, which is what's so cool about, you know, just being part of this show, because it really, what you've done and what you built here, you and Marty, I'm telling you what, you guys got mad respect, because, you know, I say this all the time, but I can't, I mean, yeah, after Tom tonight, I'm waiting for Ed, and now we get Tom tonight, and I know who that is, you know, I mean, I don't really, but, and he's buddies with my hero, Jorge, you know, so, like, yeah, we hung out, we used to do, you know, he brought me stuff, Write a book. I got that book. You know, everybody should have that book. But to have people like that on the show, you just go, holy crap. I mean, there's 9 million podcasts out there, and none of them have the OGs, as you put it, of the cannabis industry coming on the show, or owners of Mammoth P or Black Dog Lighting, Spectrum King, Optic Foliar, and Outlaws from the old days, and all kind of good shit. It's just so cool. I mean, it couldn't.
We had aquaponic farm owners, and just we get such a cool smattering of people. And you know what else? The glass, the glass shop with Matt from Outside Glass, that was awesome. And just, we get so many.
Yeah.
Tell you how many times we've just sat back and been like, "Damn, this is a great episode."
Once I get my fish, I'm going to start growing bugs. I decided that guy did a couple weeks ago. Do you shout out for the bug grower?
Oh, Carl, yeah, we had Carl on.
He's in North Carolina. He's right down the road from me. So I can't wait to hook up with him, go up there and see his operation, because he said we could come up if we wanted. And I'm just, because, hey, if he grows roaches. Well, I tell you what, I don't nothing to grow roaches.
Funny thing about the roaches, I gave him the starting colony. Those roaches came from my genetics. So it's funny that you will literally have something in your possession that I helped create, which is kind of funny.
Maybe. Well, I mean, that'll be cool with that in mind. That's cool. But I don't have to get roaches from anywhere. I live in the swamp. I can get all kinds of bugs.
No, but you want the right kind so that they're clean. These are clean. These are from a laboratory stock.
Oh, well, yeah. Don't you
found a sushi restaurant to get the nice roaches from.
Yeah. Can't you breed them?
Oh yeah, you can breed them. You can breed them, but you want a clean initial stock. Like mine came originally from laboratory stock, so I know that they don't have any funky diseases or anything that they came into with the population.
That's a good sense.
I got to take off. I really got to get this stuff done. So if you don't mind, put my own plug in here, and I'll take off and give you guys back the show.
Go for it.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, check me out. Aquaponic Dumme on my own channel. I think it's Cannabis Aquaponics on YouTube. And, of course, ILGM, Grow Forums. I'm a grow mentor over there, or mod. I also want to mention that I'm a mod of Overgrow also. So I don't know if you guys are familiar. Overgrow backup. They don't sell anything or anything like that, but they do help out on a good group of guys. Lemonade Joe over there is the admin. He's pretty cool too.
Yeah, he is. I met him too. Yeah, he's pretty. Dumme invited me, and I went over there, and he is a cool guy. He invited me to come around anytime, and it's kind of a conflict of interest for me, other than the fact that he doesn't really sell anything at this point. So I guess it's not, but it's kind of a conflict for me. But yeah, he reopened overgrow.com, which was shut down in the Dutch Passion seed selling to America scandal back in 2005. That shut down the biggest, maybe the biggest cannabis forum in history, overgrow.com. And now he's reopened, and it's not the same. Dumme, does he have the grow facts from Overgrow, the old Overgrow? Does he have the grow facts? Because they are available on some forums on the planet.
Yeah, I don't know if they're part of the original or if they're their own. I know it's a completely new thing. It's not the guys. So it's
right.
And it's not the same genre, I guess, as, I don't know if you'd word it that way, as ILGM. ILGM is more of we pretty much, we don't deal with any BS at ILGM. Like, it's a really great group of people, and it really depends on what type of environment you're looking for. At Overgrow, it's
like old Overgrow, where people could cuss each other out and shit.
Right. Yeah, we have there's a Shark Tank over there, and when it starts, yeah, exactly. So that's I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good guys. Like I said, I get along great with the admin. The rest of the mods over there are really good guys. I don't know them as well as, obviously, I know my buddy Latewood here, but they are a good group of guys, and you could check them out.
It's a nice forum. I believe it's a V-Bulletin forum also, for you people that care about that. And it's set up like all the other cannabis forums. And the admin was real nice when I got there and introduced myself. And And I could be a moderator there myself, but that's where I feel like it'd be a conflict of interest. And I don't want to feel like I'm riding around on Dummy's coattails all the time either.
No, well,
that's nice.
See, I'm stretched thin too, because I got like I'm on just about every form I can find. Honestly, I try to keep up with all of them. I focus on mostly ILGM, and secondly Overgrow, and then obviously the Facebook groups. You know, a lot of main Facebook groups. To be honest with you, I'm in. But other than that, yeah, check me out. Find me on Facebook. Find me at ILGM. Find me at overgrow.com. And that's about it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well,
All right,
we miss you, my friend. I can't wait for the semester to be over because we miss you. I miss our late night talks where we, kick each other around and all that stuff.
Now I found out about Will, man. I gotta give him a ring, man. That's pretty upsetting. That I feel really bad now that I've been gone and I haven't had the time to really focus in on my personal life, and I consider him a friend too. So.
Do you have his phone number?
That's what I was going to ask you. If you don't mind, if I don't have it, can you send it to me? So
yeah, I'll PM you. I'll PM you his phone number later.
All right, guys, I got to take off. Thanks, Steve, for having me on the show. Roger,
Thanks
always
again.
a pleasure.
Love you, man.
Marty's
Glad to
gone.
have you back.
And atheism, is that right, Tom?
Oh no, it's
Forest Rose, but I don't know what I'm gonna count them on. Yeah.
Oh, that's what. Okay, I couldn't. I
Yeah.
was wondering what the hell is atheism. Okay, old fart.
I've been so busy, I haven't paid attention to the computers, and I'm just
Well, I know you've been on the show a lot. We haven't had a whole lot of conversations, but
I was already blind, but now I'm twice as blind. Put your hat back on. Holy crap.
All right, guys. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Tommy, if you ever see him on the street, you'll know it's him in about 3 seconds because he stands out about as much as a traffic cone and a sea of baby chickens or something.
They're very colorful. Is that what you're trying to say? He's very colorful.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to shout out to the 3 people that are watching us that don't have power right now. It was Larry.
Hey, Larry.
I think it was Larry. Hold on. See if I can shout out to everybody.
Calls me brother.
Larry, JP, and somebody else. I think it was Cyclops. All of them don't have power, but they did manage to fire up their phones or something on a generator and watch the show. So that's dedication. Much love to you guys. I can't say thank you enough. The lengths that our fans go to just to watch us live. So really appreciate you guys. What have you been up to, Roger? And then we'll touch on where we've been up to, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Well, I'm just
Veggie Grows. Veggie Grows. That was the other guy that was watching on a generator. So shout out, buddies. Thanks a lot for supporting the show, even in hard times. I hope we're providing a little bit of entertainment to your dark situation.
Me, I'm just up to the same old shit. I run IloveGrowingMarijuana.com, and we're constantly evolving the forum and helping people. Our thing is to take people. We got so many new people to growing because of all the legalization that we're really special on and concentrate on teaching you the right, correct methods to grow the first time. There might be, and there's all kinds of methods to grow. I'm not saying when I teach you that there's no other way to grow and be successful. But if you follow our direction and our grow methods from start to finish, we prove that, especially with our genetics, which are superior to everything I've had in the 12 years of my career, they pop in 2 days, and I don't even want to go off on that. But the point is that if you, and that's what most of our customers in the forum are, they get the seeds and they join the forum. We try to help people be successful the first time, the first grow, and it seems to work real well, and that's what I do. I've got my own commercial produce interests, and I'm getting ready to start a small aquaponics operation, and I become a fish dealer, and that site, that company's not set up yet, so I'm going to pull a Steve here and say that's all I can say about it. But I'm working on it real hard, and real soon I'll be able to tell you all about it.
Alrighty. Well, Tommy and I have been running around working on this new cannabis business, dealing with the various regulations and licensing issues and property stuff and all the not fun part of growing cannabis. So we've been off dealing with that and working on some secret projects and working on perfecting the formula for a couple of cool things that maybe one of the things that we previewed earlier that we're going to enter into the next cup we can get our grubby little hands on to throw down on the edibles category, because I think we're going to walk away with it like without even a question.
Yeah.
There's no I dab a lot. I take a lot of stuff.
You're still live, dude. You're still live.
Yeah. And
okay.
But he does it live all the time. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
It's on.
So
it's on video.
We made a formula of the stuff that we're working on right now that was too strong. I was stupid. I almost walked out of a gas station with a 6-pack. Like, I opened the door and was like, "Oh shit, I need to pay for this." Like, I was just super baked. What else? I was like slurring my words, like having a heart. I sounded like I was drunk. Like, I was literally so stoned. I was like, and I haven't been that way in 5 or more years from weed.
Tell them how much THC you did for that.
Oh yeah, I think it was only like 20 or 30 milligrams of active ingredient, something like that. And it's just the delivery is so fast and so efficient that it just rocks your world. So I think it's going to change the way people see cannabis and cannabis uptake, and kind of completely change the edibles game, because no more of this, oh, I took it and I don't feel high after 30 minutes shit. This is, oh, I took it and I'm fucking giggling like a schoolgirl in a minute and a half to 5 minutes. I know. Tommy, why don't you tell them about your situation the other night where you were kind of hurting?
Oh yeah, well, we were running around Palm Springs, and Palm Springs has these speed bumps. There are not too many of those, but they have these dips in the road. And the guy who was driving us around, it's like he was driving a Death Star or something, man. He was just like rolls around this town, and I'm bouncing around. I'm missing 7 discs in my spine, and I'm fucking hurting. And so I get over to, one of the country clubs, and I get in this woman's house. First thing I go for is the couch, and I lay down because I'm just messed up, and I forgot my kratom, which, I really needed for pain. I said, oh, let me put down a gram of this stuff. And I put down a gram, and it was within 5 minutes. I'm outside on the back deck, and I'm dancing. There's no music. And I was so messed up, I had to lay down. 5 minutes later, I'm out dancing with no music. And I was just like, oh, my God, maybe we're onto something.
Yep. I'm so excited to get this into people's hands, especially people that are hurting bad, because this is going to change the way that people look at cannabis as medicine. I really do think that.
And let them get a lot more use out of their medicine. The medicine will last so much better. Yeah, so much stronger.
Yep, and the dosages are lower. The speed of uptake is just ungodly faster. So never again will you take an edible and not know how long it's been. I'll leave it at that without giving much more away. It just 30 to 30. There was a lady that had never really smoked cannabis before, and we gave her some. She was giggling like a schoolgirl within a minute of taking it. Literally within a minute. I've never seen anything work this fast. It's insane. And it's like smokeless cannabis. It's incredible. So, but yeah, that's what we've been up to. I think I was told 2 weeks from now I'll be allowed to talk once we're all the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed with some of the international business registries and stuff like that. So I will say it's not just in the United States. How about that this company that I'm working with is working on grows.
At some point too.
Oh yeah, sexy extraction equipment.
Grade stainless steel, boys and girls. Oh yeah.
So a little preview of some of the stuff to come. So anyways, I think we'll wrap up the show. Marty had to deal with some kid situation temporarily and wasn't able to come back, it looks like. So
And he asked that any complaints be sent to.
Yep, all complaints about the show, if you're offended by anything, go to apmeds@gmail.com. We will, if you're interested, check out AP Meds on YouTube. Marty puts a lot of time into his channel. He also has a Patreon, so if you guys want to support him, I think it's like $3 a month or $5 a month is the upper tier. He's real cheap, and he has a bunch of videos he puts out way before they ever make it to his YouTube channel. It's kind of a time delay on that, and then he has some content that's just not on the channel. So, and then if you guys are interested, check it out. Marty and I also teach the Aquaponic Cannabis class. If you're interested in taking it online, you can take it online, and wherever you are on the planet, and you'll have access to both of us, and be able to talk to both of us, watch it live wherever you are on the planet. So be sure to check that out. If not, come to it in person in Ouroboros Farms in Half Moon Bay. So we have some pretty cool guests coming to the next class. So I'm kind of honored to some of the people that are coming to this next class. It's going to be a lot of fun to teach, and I think I might need to brush up on my slide deck before I teach the next one. So anyways, how do people find you there, Tommy?
Oh, I'm Old Fart Grows on YouTube. oldfartgrows@gmail.com. I've not had a lot of content up lately because we are running around doing businessy kind of shit. But hope to have some new stuff up there, some new grow opportunities, and some more information about extracts and ways to do things at home that you can capture the molecules that you're growing and make sure they're getting into the bodies of the people you love.
Yep, that'll be really awesome. What about you, Roger? How do people find you? Roger, you're muted. Roger, unmute your mic.
No wonder I wasn't getting any damn response to my comments. Okay, I'm sitting here just, like, okay. Well, just like I said, come to join us if you need help or you want good, excellent, expert advice. And half the panels over here, members, come to ilovegrowingmarijuana.com and join and reach out to Latewood or Hogmaster or Aquaponic Dumme or anybody. Steve's a member. I think Marty's a member. Dorian said he was going to join, but I don't know. I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen Dorian since then. So, I don't know if Tommy joined, but I don't think so either. I think he said that last week.
I'm not on you guys' level. Yeah.
No. You totally should join. He is one of the most positive communities on the internet for cannabis discussion, and there's even other extracts artists on there. So I would highly recommend it.
Yep. Oh, I didn't know that.
It's for learning, and nobody's, and that's what Dumme was talking about earlier. When you come to our forum, if it happens, and it doesn't happen because the members will shut it down because they've been taught well, and basically they're very. I got a great membership, like Steve says. You don't get no shit. Nobody calls you stupid there. Nobody's going to cuss you out. You don't have to put up with any bullshit. There's no commercial links unless they're approved by me or the company in Amsterdam. We got genetics, we got CBD oil, we got nutrients, we got all, and they're all great. Our whole staff is growing with freaking nutrients because they're better than everything we ever bought. They actually came up with, well, I think it was I want to say, I'm going to tell you right now, Robert, I know you got the idea from me because I told you I was developing a powder formula, but I don't care. They developed a powder formula. They got more money than I do, and I'm blown away.
Oh, no one will ever, even if someone else comes up with a sublingual, they won't touch ours. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, we're cheating on levels never before thought of.
Yep.
Right, yeah. and it's going around. That's it's not just one group of people or one or two people doing that either. It's starting to get, because of shows like this and our forums. Hey, we got 35,000 visitors a day.
Good golly, Miss Molly, you go, girl. You go.
35,000 visitors a day.
Right on.
We must have, when I got there in 2015. Wait a minute, this be 3 years now. Wait a minute, 2014 in the fall when I was hired, we had 12 visitors a day. And we've gone from 12 posts to 12 visitors a day to 35,000. Now, I'm not going to take credit for that. Robert and those guys did a hell of a job, but I thought they were doing this crazy marketing when we got all these people from Massachusetts, and it's not. They didn't do any marketing. So I have to say that our staff and what we built there and the way we run the forum to be friendly and, you know, allow people to learn and not be thought of as stupid because they don't know anything. That's what we're looking for. I don't want a guy that knows everything, because then, you know, he says, well, I need this help. And you tell him, goes, yeah, but no, that ain't right. I'm going to do it this way. Well, that's, I put him on the never help this. I don't have time for people that don't want to be taught. If I can't teach you anything, I'm not going to waste my time. It's not that I'm ignoring you, but I've got 35,000 people a day clicking on that website, and some of them actually need help. We help the people need help, and the ones that buy genetics from the company are first. I won't lie to you. Whenever you post about bag seed, we'll help you. Our membership will help the crap out of you. But my staff, we're going to help the people that buy the seeds from the company first. And
when's Robert coming on the show? I know we talked about that.
I've been working on it. I don't know. He's become a ghost, like a phantom. Phantom Robert Bergman. I'm going to start calling him the Phantom. I've been working on it, and I'm not sure we won't be able to get another representative of the company, but he's going to be talking like I would be talking, except he's going to be Dutch. You know, he's going to say the same things basically. But I'm trying. I put the word out. Well, here's what I do. I perform, and there's a great company to work for. They've done a great, tremendous thing. They help out everybody, and they do. And we give away stuff, and you know, we have our bud of the month. So we give free seeds for that. And hell, I gave free seeds away for the Halloween contest. Whoever the best costume, and we had these people out in Nebraska dressed up as the scarecrow and his wife, kind of thing, and it was hilarious. I mean, it was like pay $2,000 for that costume, you know, but I digress. So, but the thing is we do have we have that kind of thing, Tommy. You now see, I think you're full of shit every time you told me you don't know how to grow, but because you keep coming up.
He is full. I'll testify. He's totally full of shit because his grow room is one of the nicest grow rooms I've literally ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of grow rooms.
So you'd be a big help to us there as a friend, because that's all we're doing. We're building friendships. Every one of my moderators, probably the only website in the world where every one of my moderators talk to me on the phone. If there's a problem on the forum, it's not until I get around to getting there. I might be wanting to take a shit, but you know what? I don't get to have a cup of coffee because Garrigan will call me up and say, hey, did you see what happened on the forum this morning? And, you know, it might be something where somebody's advertising, trying to, you know, solicit, you know, our customers and stuff, which is, you know, none of that's going on. So you won't be badgered by people trying to sell you a bunch of crap either. We do allow links to Amazon for supplies, you know, because you could do an affiliate account that way. And so that helps pay our staff, you know, and give our staff Christmas presents, because a lot of our staff doesn't get paid. Most of our staff doesn't get paid. But we give real nice Christmas bonuses, you know. And then if somebody needs some help, we try to, well, I don't, but I mean, I expedite it. So I guess I can say we. But our owners are always willing to help. I needed some money a while back. They loaned me. I asked them for a loan. They just gave it to me. Well, Dumme told him he wanted a Resineer. They bought it for him. They say, well, if you need it to do your job better, we'll buy it for you. So, you know, why would you want anything but a friendly, beautiful atmosphere, and with all the people going there? I mean, there's people we got people 45 to 65 years old, core of our membership, 50 and 60 and, you know, even older. We got judges, we got lawyers, we got ex-military, ex-cops, ex-solicitors. I mean, all scientists, teachers, people that would never try cannabis because they've been lied to by the government for decades, as I brought up earlier. Now that the truth was released, when the Library of Congress had to release all those, I can't think of the word I really want to say, research, you know, research things that the government did on cannabis. Every time the government ever researched cannabis, they found it to be viable for medical marijuana. They found it to have no ill effects as far as making somebody sick or dying. And we all know, basically, now edibles is another story. I don't want to go into that because that's new, so I'm going to stay with the old school thing. But the thing is that nobody's died from smoking pot. Much pot to die. All you do is go to sleep. And then when you wake up, you probably light up some more pot, but or maybe not. I'd like to have a glass of water first. But the thing is that that's what we do there, and I'm really, really proud to. It started. We're a seed bank, but we also have a laboratory in Amsterdam. Of course, that's allegedly.
That's legal in Amsterdam and Dutch then. No,
it's against the law there too. It's just tolerated. It's against the law to cultivate in Netherlands. Anyway, they got their own thing, but they're doing that. We're not going to worry. I'm not going to worry about them. They seem to be doing well. It seems to be going on, but they're just great people. And not only the seed banks, so they did that to make some money, of course, but they produced such a great. I mean, we got a blog with over 500 excellent cannabis articles on them. And if you read them and you find a problem with it, we'll look at what you say and we'll change it. There was a typo or the community. See, some people say, "Oh, this is full of shit." Well, all it was you got a guy writing it, in Dutch, right? And then it gets translated to English. Without somebody like me or you or Steve or somebody to go, that's not quite right. That really kind of, it's not clarified correctly. So part of my job is doing the comments on the blog. And if I see something like that, I'm to correct it and send in the edit, and we edit the blog. Well, we got over 500 articles. People are blown away. They go there no matter what you want to research. It's right there in the blog, and then we got Grow Facts, which I'm always trying to build, but never enough, it seems like. And the funny thing is, I don't understand it, but the Grow Facts, nobody ever reads Grow Facts. They ask the same stupid question every day. If you just go to Grow Facts, for all you members out there, please go read the Grow Facts, because then you won't have to ask anybody what the proper pH for hydro is. Okay. All right. So I guess I'm done with my rant, but Tommy, you need to join, buddy. We need people like you because you're a friendly, happy guy. And we got tons of friendly, happy guys that are as old as us. And a lot of them are beginners, and they would love somebody.
You have a couple of friendly, happy girls will be there.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, buddy. And hey, like I said, I told Steve this briefly, but I'm just go ahead and put it out there. I have been approved to gift our panelists some genetics. I asked for Steve and Marty, but I know that I could probably gift you or anybody else on the panel. Our staff gets genetics gifted to them. So nice. Now that we're advertising, I told them, hey, we talk about, and plus the other administrator that's taken over for the owner on that side of the pond, we're on the home office level that I am at the forum kind of, and we liaison to make everything work. Well, he's the one that I might be able to get on the show. But again, we'll have to talk about that. I'm not going to mention any names, but he's a very good friend of mine that took the job in the last year or so, and has really helped to make the forum look better. Helps me out tremendously. Well, hell, I'll just say, because he's Roy, but I want to send a shout out to Roy at ILGM for all the help he gives us at the staff at the forum, and he's the guy that if you have a problem with your orders or anything like that, he's the guy that ultimately sees that it's done and fixed. And we guarantee all our genetics 100%, whether you screw them up in propagation, or they come crushed or whatever. We back them at 100%. So. And I love it. And thanks, Steve, for giving us such a great recommendation a while ago. That was very kind. The way you put it was eloquent.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of the reasons why I like having you guys on, and why we seems like every couple months we have a new guy from I Love Growing Marijuana that ends up on the show. So, Well,
they're good guys because I get to know them. and like Hogmaster, well, you needed a guest one night. And that's how Hogmaster got on, because he's got the metal in his back.
Yep.
You know, so, and he had weaned himself off of pharmaceuticals. So I said, well, this is right up with your, that first show I was on was about veteran. He's a veteran too. So it's just like the 420 show, which was about veterans and using cannabis to get off of pharmaceuticals, even though some of them fellas still were on pharmaceuticals. I remember I kind of like, I don't know if it's true about elephants, but I'm kind of like got elephant brain. When you tell me shit, I remember it. And when we do the shows, I might not remember all specifics, but I remember who was on and what was talked about pretty much from show to show, and because it's been a great experience, and so that's why it all works. That's why the forum works. That's why the show works. We got a great panel, and yeah, we got other guys that could be on the show. Well, I was trying to get you the guy whose father was a notorious outlaw in Alaska, but he wouldn't agree because he said his dad's still alive and it might piss him off. So,
Roger,
I don't.
We better let everybody go. And hey, thanks for having me here again. And yeah, look forward to seeing everybody next week. Anything else, Steve?
No, that's about it. I think I was gonna just mention my YouTube channel is Potent Ponics. If you guys ever have a question about the show, or if you guys have any guest suggestions or anything else, feel free to email me at potentponics@gmail.com. I'm about to switch to a different company email, but I'm going to keep that one alive indefinitely and just keep it for the show. Yeah, I think there's a bunch of cool shit happening, and I wish I could tell you guys all the cool shit that's going on right now. But I'll be allowed to as soon as a few more things come together. And yeah, I think you guys are going to be blown away by what we got in the works. It's on a scale that no one else is doing right now, at least not that I'm aware of, except for maybe one or two other companies. So I think you guys are going to really like it.
Yeah.
And not only that, the people on the team that we have are just, without being able to talk much on it, are just fucking awesome.
So nice.
Yep.
So nice. Yeah.
So, and people you guys have heard of, trust me.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Some of them have even been on this show. So.
I'm dying for. I heard a couple things a few weeks ago, and I can't wait to see if that's what you're releasing or what you're doing exactly, because I just heard this or that pieces here, and I'm dying to because I can't talk about it either, because you told me stuff and I don't tell anybody. See, so
that's good, because we don't want to kill you, Roger. We love you.
Oh no, hey!
Alrighty, guys.
I would never give away something that would be that. What I heard was so cool that I can't wait to see that. That's all I can say. And it was
not only that. Some of the stuff Tommy's got cooked up is even more impressive in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, guys. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you guys next week. Depending on my travel schedule, hopefully I'll be back to doing the news show again next week. It's been a couple weeks off. I want to try and get back into doing that. I'm also working with, I got another veterans contract. We're going to try and get that veterans program off the ground on Wednesdays. I know we've talked about it for a while. I want to make sure I have a committed group of veterans that can make it every week so before we start it. But we kind of have a group of people together now. I think we're almost there. So that's also in the works. So thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. We'll have another cool guest, and the next couple of guests we have lined up are going to be awesome. So don't miss it. Take care, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye.